Chapter 1160, Shoud ve known. Chapter 1160, Shoud ve known. Proofreader, Papatonks. Glancing at Bu Xingyun and the rows of spies, Bailey Jingwei smiled. The World War may have been over, and the Empire's loss is the smallest, but with sort of using serene shores trading to fan the flames in our territories, you've pushed us close to collapse. I knew then that it would take 100 years for the Empire to recover from the unrest. For that reason, I made a deal with those foolish leaders for a century-long peace. Oh, I wanted their lands, but I feared their meddling more by bringing more chaos to our empire. The Sword Star Empire people sneered, giving a look of scorn at the said leaders turned convicts. These morons fell for our delay tactic and were mighty pleased with it. Ha, the idiots! Ling Yintian was outraged. Bailey Jingwei is vile and shrewd. Our talks hadn't been in our favors at all. I should have just made him cede land as reparations. It never occurred to him that taking anything from Bailey Jingwei was possible after the war. I noticed the shifting sands beneath the surface in the Empire, making another large military campaign like last time impossible. At the very least, half the soldiers had to be stationed to secure the Empire and prevent more unrest or collapse. This was a constraint put on me in facing the four lands, unable to go all out against them. Bailey Jingwei continued with a glimmer in his eyes as he pointed at Bu Xingyun. But this time, sect leader Bu was a boundless source of inspiration. He's a spy I placed in the northern lands in time of the last war. His job was simple, to break the Sea Bright sect's barrier. But it ended up with him saving the leaders of the four lands. Sea Bright sect Ling thought so highly of him that he was entrusted with important duties. His power only grew from then on, leaving the northern land's defenses in his care. It got me thinking, if the enemy's defense is controlled by one of my men, it couldn't be easier. War would become pointless, and it saved loads of time too. All it lacked was a suitable plan to take the enemy lair. Ling Yuntian gasped in shame. It was all due to indulging Bu Xingyun that Bailey Jingwei had an easy time breaching their defenses and taking his home, ignoring sect leader Ling's guilt. Zhuo Fan held a constant smile. So Prime Minister turned to finding particular spies, yes? Correct. Having spies and a leadership of every land would prove crucial to further my plans. Bailey Jingwei's eyes shone, pointing at the said spies. The war just ended and the lands were in urgent need of making up for their losses, making it the best chance to climb the ranks. I thus chose potential candidates for me to use, starting with Eastern lands. I chose Shangguan Yuheng, because she was the mother of Shangguan Yulin, the best disciple of the Eastern lands. Shangguan Yulin's position made me understand her status, but then Shangguan Yulin turned traitor and died. His mother grew petty and hateful. This only helped more. The higher she went, the more she loathed the Shangguan clan. Could you ask for a better candidate? Ha ha ha. Bailey Jingwei laughed. Earning a glare from Shangguan Yuheng, Bailey Jingwei shrugged. Don't look at me. Those aren't my words, but Sword King Feiyun's. Though that's reality. To a person consumed by hatred, nothing matters, not even their clan. They'd want it destroyed just the same. But how could she climb the ranks harboring revenge? I then changed her name to Monyang, to show remorse, for Mo alludes to a mother atoning for her son. And thanks to Shangguan Feixiong going into seclusion, the huge clan only had a little girl leading it. Women, ruthless and soft. Feixiong's daughter actually accepted the apology and considered Monyang a close friend. Maybe even closer. She was all alone in the clan, and then she found the auntie's shoulder to lean on, becoming practically kin. It's a gift from heaven, if I do say so myself. Shangguan Monyang used her power alongside the young miss to gain control over the borders and complete the task I had for her. Zhuo Fan nodded with a thumbs up. Marvelous. Why, thank you, Steward Zhuo. Bailey Jingwei shrugged then. As for southern lands, Murong clan had few people, left with only Foggies enjoying retirement. This made it even easier to get a spy. And now we came to the real issue, western lands. The Luo clan made the best candidate on paper, pulling it in with some promises, but it's too damn stubborn, unbudging in some areas, and it slipped out of my grasp. I didn't want to deal with them and had no choice but to resort to a little trick to pry them apart and surrender to me. Don't forget my Devil Palace. Zhua Fan reminded him. Bailey Jingwei nodded. Right, the Devil Palace Steward Zhua established was a plague to my heart. All because it was rooted deep in the central area. It always made every move of mine tiresome and slow. I had to use the plan of dealing with the four lands to fake an empty central area and draw you out. Clap. Zhua Fan praised. Prime Minister Bailey sure is thorough, flawless perhaps. You've done marvelously this past century. Steward Zhua, please, this is what I've done these years. Now it's your turn. How would Steward Zhua settle this situation? Bailey Jingwei smiled. Zhua Fan waved him off. Prime Minister, come on, I'm calling you flawless, and you're saying I'll handle it. Steward Zhua, there's no need for modesty. As the best minister, I always wanted to compete with the best steward once more. Don't disappoint. Bailey Jingwei's eyes shone, his smile sinister. Zhua Fan smirked and nodded. If you insist, I'll just have to make a fool of myself. Like I said, Prime Minister Bailey had done marvelously, taking the lands and solidifying the empire, attacking and retreating at the right moments. Though what if I saw a crack in the Prime Minister's plan? Tearing it to reveal a crippling weakness. Ha ha. What? Bailey Jingwei's heart jumped, his smile gone as he cupped his hands. Enlighten me. Zhua Fan droned on. The crux of Prime Minister Bailey's plan are spies. But what if these spies were already picked? Bailey Jingwei shook, his eyes landing on Bu Xingyun and the others. Prime Minister, don't listen to his nonsense. We check out. Bu Xingyun panicked and then cursed Zhua Fan. Hey Zhua Fan, stop poisoning the well. We never betrayed the empire. Zhua Fan chuckled. The world bears witness to sect leader Bu's heart. I know you didn't betray it. What I meant was, we didn't either. Shangguan Monyang and the others announced. Sweating buckets, they saw firsthand how Bailey Jingwei dealt with traitors through the Luo clan's fate. He sentences the whole clan just because of an unsteady heart. Bailey Jingwei needed to have but an inkling of doubt, and they were deader than dead, so they declared their stance from the start. Zhua Fan chuckled. Not you either. I meant Prime Minister Bailey. Me? How? Bailey Jingwei shook. Zhua Fan said, Prime Minister, if your spies had been exposed from the start, what would you have done? Bailey Jingwei's face twitched, turning grave. Tell me. Sure, it's my turn anyway to talk of the 100-year plan. Zhua Fan nodded. Can a leopard change his spots? Can a shrew turn into a nice Annie at the drop of a hat and take responsibility for her son? Don't you think it's a bit of a stretch? Sure, it's easy for a girl, since women are always flexible. Hearing of it reeks of something fishy. That's why I put a tail on her. I saw her trying only to further her authority and never contacting the central area, but I was certain this was only a matter of time. She's after revenge, and alone, it's impossible. As for sect leader Bu, I doubted him the moment he got all four lands leaders in the same spot. Then he rose through the ranks and furthered his power while exercising extreme caution. It didn't fit his wild nature. Recalling Shangguan Monyang, I figured out it was someone's plan. The Prime Minister avoided all contact the past century to protect them, but they all acted the same, aiming high and staying low, going for power while avoiding conflicts. Bailey Jingwei's face shook, unease festering in his heart. If he found out everything from the start, he has the skills to make it all come crashing down. Zhua Fan read him like a book, but I didn't pay attention to any of it, letting you have your fun. If it were so easy to plant spies in the enemy camp, why then would you have resorted to an all-out war? It was precisely because of the huge losses after the war that presented this chance. I just couldn't bear the thought of ruining the Prime Minister's pet project after all that effort. Speaking of, I have the heart of a girl, quite a softie, though I'm a family man. Ugh. Bailey Jingwei faltered, his face twitching. If you're a family man, then the whole world has only cruel monsters. The Luo clan looked bleak as they sighed. Steward Zhua hasn't changed a bit after all these years. Can't he have just a shred of decency? Chapter 1161, Turnaround. Chapter 1161, Turnaround. Proofreader, Papatonks. Steward Zhua, what did you do next? I'm eager to know. Bailey Jingwei stared hard at Zhua Fan, his voice stiff. Then tell me, what game are you really playing? Fan nodded. Sure, I'll say this first. The empire had gone through changes, but its strength remains. With the prime minister handling things, restoring it to its former glory was easy. As long as its power remains concentrated, it's undefeated. So I had to help your ambition and give you leeway to enact your plan. What? Bailey Jingwei gasped. You let me? Then, taking a deep breath, Zhuo Fan showed a twisted smile. Prime Minister, remember the empty city tactic 100 years ago? It was and wasn't. But now it couldn't be truer. Empty city tactic, Bailey Jingwei started. Turning to the Sword Kings who attacked the four lands, Shangwan Feiyun was first to say, We assaulted Shangwan clan, but there was no one in sight, and we had no trouble seizing eastern lands, though there were more fugitives. Our assault was real, killing throughout the Sea Bright sect, but the Snow Peak Four Elders and Ouyang Chongqing were gone. Those cowards fled somewhere, and we couldn't pick their trail. Bailey Yun said. Danxing Shin paused and nodded. Murong Klang was deserted. Then we found out about Murong Shui. Why didn't any of you say anything? We thought it was normal. That Bailey Yun showed a bright smile and shrugged. They must have found themselves weak, and at the news of our coming they fled. It's obvious. Yes, logical. Zhuo Fan smiled. What makes even more sense is when you received news of bestowal for your efforts. And you couldn't smear your record with some pesky mistakes, right? Ha ha. But these omissions proved to be crucial. Don't you know that grass sprouts from anything, be it fire or floods? Bailey Jingwei heard Zhuo Fan's disdain and grimaced with clenched fists. Bailey Yuyun found it scornful. What's so bad about some homeless fools? TCH. Report. A frantic man shouted, echoing through the imperial capital as he rushed to present a jade slip. Prime Minister, this is very bad. The Western Lands Army breached the borders and is marching into the central area. The defenses were overwhelmed and are in dire need of reinforcements. What? Bailey Jingwei and everyone else wore masks of disbelief. Bailey Jingwei grabbed his collar, turning hysterical. What the hell happened? Didn't the Western Lands capitulate? Why are they attacking the central area? That, the man stammered, put on the spot. He was just the messenger. Knowing nothing, another shout came with the same urgency. The Southern Lands Army breached the borders and are heading inland. Prime Minister, please send reinforcements. Don't. Bailey Jingwei's mind blanked out, his eyes staring into space. The Northern Lands revolted and punched through the borders, heading for our lands. Prime Minister, send reinforcements. Another frantic shout came. Zhuo Fan mocked and taunted. Your prime minister had his men ready to deal with me. He can't spare one man for you. Tell them they're on their own. Devil Palace Lord is a heavy criminal. Ha ha. Zhuo Fan. Bailey Jingwei glared with bloodshot eyes. What the hell did you do? Zhuo Fan shrugged. But then a melody intervened, sounding cheerful and snappy. Even the tone deaf could hear its meaning. It's not he who did it. He only came up with the plan and went into seclusion. We did everything. Zither Sword King. Bailey Jingwei raged. Why would you sell out the empire? Lu Mubai said, Prime Minister Bailey, my people died from this same heavenly punishment. 2,000 years ago, I sought shelter in the empire, and I'm unclear if the invincible sword forgot about it, or merely disregarded me, to not mention the execution. I joined the Dark Demon Lord to crush the empire and avenge my people. That is reason enough. What? Bailey Jingwei gaped incredulously. Even so, how could you have led the empire's elites to strike back at the empire? They all are loyal to it. You might get to lead them once, but they'll never go as far as to betray their country. Zither Sword King showed a vague smile, the zither playing. And if they never were central areas? Bailey Jingwei's mind stopped working. Zhuo Fan was kind enough to explain, Prime Minister Bailey, I told you, the empty city tactic now was genuine. Did you really think the empire would seize the lands at the end? We'll see who takes over who soon enough. Bailey Jingwei staggered back in realization. Prime Minister, to be honest, while the Luo clan suffered, I've always been watching from the side, wanting you to make your move on the Western lands. This way, the empire's forces would scatter. while the men you sent into western lands had long since been destroyed by the Luo clan and Zither Sword King. The men posted in western lands are western land soldiers in central area uniform that Zither Sword King helped hide. The border guards thought them as themselves and opened the arrays, followed by their immediate defeat under a sudden assault by western lands forces. The same for the other lands? Bailey Jingwei asked in shock. Zhuo Fan nodded. You're catching on. It was all a diversion. Thinking your world order came to be, your guard on the four lands loosened, and the soldiers at the border were called back, giving the lands the perfect chance to strike. Ignore his foolish words. Prime Minister, the northern lands is ours. Bailey Yun intervened, for the way it was said painted every leader that attacked the lands as traitors. Zhuo Fan smiled, with a red-nosed old man patting his shoulder. Bailey Yun, you don't have to explain yourself. That's the hard truth. Wine Sword Immortal. We took northern lands, but after you left, I ordered the army to assemble in a valley, so that Ouyang Chongqing and the others would kill them off. That's why it took me 3 days to come. SSS. Bailey Yun gasped and fumed. The drunkard has always been sloppy, but actually so vicious when he wanted to be. Those were the lives of millions of elite soldiers. Bailey Jingwei turned his stiff head to Danxing Shun. Dragon-cleaving Sword King was delayed for the same reason. Yeah, though I didn't have a good excuse like Wine Sword Immortal to fool you, so the brat gave me Miss Murong to use instead. No matter how suspicious you are, seeing such a prize you'll forget everything. And sure enough, he was right. You fell for a hook, line, and sinker. Danxing Shun nodded. Bailey Jingwei was a blowing volcano now. Looking now at Shangwan Feiyun, Sword King Feiyun, you can't also be. Prime Minister, I'm not like these bastards. You know of my hatred for the Shangwan clan. With my land the only one stable, it proves. Report. A guard rushed in with a ready jade slip. The eastern lands is in revolt, with fighting all over. Prime Minister, send help. Shangwan Feiyun flinched, and Zhuo Fan chuckled. Yes, Sword King Feiyun was the only one who I never tried turn. He's very much loyal to the Empire, as are his men. Though I wouldn't bet on them for help. Prime Minister, tied up with the sudden revelation of the Shangwan clan. Damn you. Bailey Jingwei pointed at him in rage, his ears turning red in just 10 days. The campaign spanning the 5 lands flipped through a turnaround. From the Swordstar Empire ruling supreme to being attacked from all sides, Bailey Jingwei never saw it coming. He had lost once more to this deadly opponent. Chapter 1162. Last Showdown. Chapter 1162. Last Showdown. Proofreader, Papatonks. Zhuo Fan raised the corner of his mouth, revealing his grand plan to the incensed Bailey Jingwei. Prime Minister, it was quite impossible for Devil Palace to grow without gaining some attention. But a few decades ago, I had the Prime Minister notice it on purpose, even going as far as letting your spies slip in. Care to know why? Bailey Jingwei was white as paper, his breathing ragged and unable to speak. Quite simple, because I wanted control. Not just of me, but over others as well. Zhuo Fan said, if you'd been in the dark of Devil Palace, then you'd go all out against the lands and we'd raise a revolt, though it wouldn't do any good. We both know how the First World War ended. With a couple of frightening words from you, the leaders of the lands were happy to follow along. You went home at once to douse the flames and keep the empire whole. No matter how much damage was done, all can be rebuilt in time. The empire would survive. So I let it slip into your reports that Devil Palace existed and even let you send spies to give you false control across the board when I was holding all the cards. With Devil Palace a thorn in your side, you'd never send all troops in. I controlled the rise of all your spies to control how fast you'd act. If you'd still been greedy like in the last war, you'd have struck only when all was perfect. Bailey Jingwei's rough breathing grew, and he leaned on Bailey Yuyun for support. His raging eyes, however, never left Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan went on. You'd never have made your move unless you had enough intelligence, so I let it trickle over to your spy and led you along to believe you're in control. It was a stalling tactic, really, since I wasn't ready, but once I let your spies get the right rank and learn more info. That was only limited to the central area, since any info on the four lands would let the empty city tactic fall through. Why did you make Wu Randong rebel then, with all the shadow forces? Is it to draw my attention? Bailey Jingwei roared. Zhuo Fan smiled, with Wu Randong showing a wide grin. Prime Minister Bailey, that's what makes Palace Lords so brilliant. You went after the lands and faked an empty central area, aiming to catch us all in a trap. If I hadn't come out, your other Sword Kings would have been stationed here for nothing, and you would send them to the lands to fight, thus figuring it out. As long as Devil Palace stayed in the central area, you'd never know rest and would not advance your plans, making it a matter of time before the problems in the four lands would catch your attention. So we were thrown away to give you peace of mind. In your joy, you never bothered to check the war situation in the other lands, jumping to the next step, luring our Palace Lord and other enemies. You gathered all your forces in the central area, leaving the borders defenseless. This led to the three lands armies you thought were defeated to get deep into your empire. Talk about setting oneself up for failure, making the enemy work from within and outside to attack you on all sides. Compared to last time, Prime Minister, you lost completely, huh? I see. The Devil Palace in the central area was just a cover for your operations in the four lands. Bailey Jingwei nodded, then his face twitched harder. Zhuo Fan, you're good. I accept my complete loss, and you have my complete respect. Bailey Jingwei spat the last words with hatred, but the respect was still there. Zhuo Fan was the only one in the world capable of being a step ahead. His hatred was born of nothing more than his inadequacies, while his respect was genuine. Zither Sword King's side turned to Zhuo Fan to overcome Bailey Jingwei's 100-year plan. Every step of the way makes him a truly terrifying man. The others share a nod, looking grave. Don't think you've won. The empire won't fall. It shall endure for a very good reason. Bailey Jingwei roared, pointing at the convicts. You wanted to save them, so I will cut them down first. Let's see how many you can protect by yourself. Empire defenders, Sword Kings, kill them. Make his win a bitter one. Yes, sir. The 6 Bailey Sword Kings flew into action at the convicts. Shangguan Feiyun was hesitant which side to take, but recalling that Zhuo Fan slighted him, he joined the central area's Sword Kings in the end. Danqing Shun and the rest were friendly with Zhuo Fan. Not to mention they had done marvelously. I got nothing instead, and he didn't even consider picking me. Why the hell would I side with him? Humph. Shangguan Feiyun was set to side with the Empire regardless of its fate. He had no other options. Whoosh. Zither Sword King hoisted Bailey Jingwei by the neck, shouting, Bailey Jingwei, have them stop. Humph, I won't. I may die, but Zhuo Fan will lose to me here. He gets the great victory while I'll leave a scar on his heart. Huh. Bailey Jingwei snickered, leaving the Zither Sword King helpless. The Sword Kings listened to Bailey Jingwei because Bailey Yutian ordered it, while hardly caring for his fate or that the Emperor would survive. They would not stop unless he spoke up. Zither Sword King's side with worry at Zhuo Fan. Dark Demon Lord is strong, able to take all those Sword Kings, but they're focusing on killing his people. He can't look after all of them. So could he protect so many people? Zither Sword King knew he cared for some of the people there. With the death of any of them, his heart would be in pain. Zither Sword King shot over at once, wanting to help. Danqing Shun and Winesword Immortal were already there, but since they were all Sword Kings, they were a moment behind compared to the 7 who. A fierce wind came at Murong Shui as Bailey Yuyun showed a wicked smile. As dreadful power blew over Ling Yuntian, Bali Yuyu glanced at Zhuo Fan and decided this man could die from his lack of reaction. She didn't want to kill anyone who Zhuo Fan cared about or to be at odds with him. Bailey Jingwei would have been pissed if he knew. Bali Yuyu, you rotten turncoat. Why the hell are you going for Ling Yuntian, who Zhuo Fan couldn't give 2 licks about? But now he was too drunk on revenge to see clearly that he had another traitor in his camp. Bloodlust washed over the scaffold and the convicts, making them feel death on their necks. They glanced at Zhuo Fan with pleading looks, but he just stood there like a statue. All were on the verge of crying. Dude, aren't you here for us? At least fake it. Bang! As the Sword King's power inched closer, so did death clench their hearts in its grip. Zhuo Fan acted like he abandoned them. As a boom resounded in their ears, the 7 sword kings backed off as they saw 7 people in front blocking them. Shui, all right. A man in red stood next to Murong Shui, having a fire cloud badge on his waist. She cheered, "Brother, Shangwan Feixiong, you finally show up." Shangwan Feiyun stared at him. Shangwan Feixiong cupped his hands. "Feiyun, have you been well this century?" Shangwan Feiyun sized him up, the jade badge on his waist catching his eye. "That a mountain, Dad, leave Bailey Jingtian to me. I have a score to settle." "Be careful." The father had a badge with a river, while the son wore black with fangs on his badge. Another man in black, a youth, had a sun painted on the back of the robe. Turning to them, "I have a score as well. Leave him to me." "Why should I? I'm stronger than you." TCH, the youth with the fangs badge huffed. Zhuo Fan stood still all this time, while the others around were stunned to the familiar figures that had vanished at the end of the First War. Only the Devil Palace disciples cheered seeing them. "Our 5 Dharma kings and emissaries are here." With all experts present, the last showdown could begin. Chapter 1163, One-Sided. Chapter 1163, One-Sided. Proofreader, Papatonks. The 3 coming to the rescue halted, looking stunned. Murong Lai, Shangwan Feixiong, and Ouyang Lingtian were missing for a century. Now there were Devil Palace's Dharma kings. "I see." Danxing Shun glanced at Wine Sword Immortal. "No wonder a drunkard like you would side with Devil Palace. You were close with Murong Lai. Come now, it's totally normal for friends to visit each other. Haha." Wine Sword Immortal's red nose wiggled as he laughed. Danxing Shun nodded. Wine Sword Immortal was with the Empire, but he longed for something else, always having a soft spot for the Murong clan. Maybe he became a Sword King in the first place, so he could protect the Murong clan. For when the Empire attacked southern lands at some point, as a Sword King, he could save them. The 7 Sword Kings faced 5 Dharma Kings and the Sun and Moon emissaries. The 2 sides were not an equal match to begin with, but with the 3 traitors added into the mix, the Empire side would lose out. Emperor Bailey Jingshi frowned, losing his cool for the first time. "Jingwei, what do we do?" "Your Majesty, relax. We're not at the end yet." Bailey Jingwei looked bleak, gnashing his teeth and roaring, "Soldiers of the Empire, attack! Kill them all!" Roar. At his order, thousands upon thousands of experts poured in from up, below, and everywhere around, filling the imperial capital with their bloodthirst as they made their way to the scaffold. I knew it was a trap. Zhuo Fan grinned. Danxing Shun and the others started, looking at the experts storming in and shot around the convicts to shield them. SSS. The imperial capital's people gasped at the scene, filled with fear and running all over the place as their hearts hammered in their chests. "Curses, we've come to see a show, not be part of it. Why must it be so chaotic? First the foreign Sword King's betrayal. Now the Imperial Army? Heavens above, I don't want to be collateral damage." Wailing inside, the people ran off in seconds. The army cared not for bugs, their targets being Devil Palace and the traitors' rumble. Danxing Shun and the others watched the black clouds coming closer with heavy looks. Zhuo Fan took a deep breath and said, "This looks familiar. Did it happen in the last war?" "Yes, Steward Zhuo. You used the same tactic on our patriarch. Now it's used on you." Bailey Jingwei sneered. "The Empire may fall today, but I don't care about the lands anymore, so long as I have your head. The 3 lands armies are invading, and the Empire might be surrounded. But before they arrive, you'll be going to hell." Zhuo Fan smiled. Shangwan Feiyun and the others snickered. "The Empire can fall, but as long as we remain, we can just rebuild another. It'll just take a couple more 1,000 years, and another empire will rise. While you will all die here, regardless how tough you are. The outcome has yet to be decided." Shangwan Feixiong. "Feiyun, don't get too happy. You don't get my head that easily." Shangwan Feixiong sneered. Shangwan Feiyun cackled. "Ha ha. Anyone could say that, but you, who always lost during our spars. Brother, you've gone senile, so let me relieve that head off your shoulders. Let me be a good example for the other Sword Kings." Shangwan Feiyun shot for Shangwan Feixiong, while the others moved as well. "Feiyun, don't you know time changes everything?" Shangwan Feixiong shouted as he charged as well. Murong Lai and the others followed suit. Each with their own targets, thunder boomed, and explosions flared as the 14 auras clashed, making the world shake. Bam! Shangguan Feiyun and Shangguan Feixiong met violently with their soaring sword arts, unleashing incredible might. When the red glows intersected, Shangguan Feiyun showed nothing but scorn, only to feel his side being grazed by a sword wave. His shock exploded just as his sleeve did. Then a power ran through his chest that sent his body back. He turned red as blood seeped out. Shangguan Feiyun's mouth shook, casting a disbelieving look on Shangguan Feixiong. How? I lost in one blow? I've always been the one winning in all our fights. How can... Feiyun, I told you, time changes everything. Shangguan Feixiong smiled. You have been vying for power the past century, yearning for eastern lands, while I focused on the sword, understanding soaring sword art's core, while turning a deaf ear to the world outside. Your talent is better than mine, but your heart is unsteady, your mind clouded, that you made no progress in the last century. This is the gap between us. Shangguan Feiyun's face twitched as he glared at his brother, still in denial. No, I'm better than you in every way. That's why I refuse to acknowledge you as clan head when you were picked. Why not could you best me? I won't allow it, I won't. Bam! Shangguan Feiyun raged with a red face, hearing a loud sound coming. He saw a shadow fly by, and Bailey Yuyun's scorched face came into view, spitting blood at his side. How is this possible? Murong Lai was never this strong. Bailey Yuyun, you were there as well when Bailey Yutian and the three-headed crow fought. Did you learn nothing from it? Whoosh! Red flashed, and Murong Lai popped in his face, eyes burning with grief. How sad! A practitioner that could not see strength in another truly strong one. Are you really Bailey? Your talents are better, sharing blood with the invincible sword, but none of you inherited his ambition for true strength. None of you are like him. Bailey Yuyun squinted, glaring at the red figure with fear. Shangguan Feiyun shouted, You're both Sword King level experts, yet you got done in by Murong Lai so soon. Because he's beyond a Sword King. Bailey Yuyun's eyes were hard. I noticed their eyes changed after Patriarch fought the 9th level spiritual beast, as if their level changed. After 100 years of training, they rose higher, above a Sword King. What? Shangguan Feiyun turned to Shangguan Feixiong and his faint smile. Among us three, I'm still the weakest, with the worst talent, and had yet to change. Only my mindset grew, having found a new understanding of soaring sword art. Now you should understand that first you're a martial practitioner so you could reach the Tao. That's what's important. With a clouded heart, you can have all the martial prowess, but never could you touch upon the Tao. Shangguan Feiyun's beard shook in anger, but his heart sank. He just realized that facing his brother he always despised, he had fallen so far behind. It was entirely one-sided. The three, having gone beyond Sword King level, had no trouble dealing with the 7 Sword Kings. They were pushed back all the time, unable to even squeeze a draw. As for the soldiers of the Empire, they kept pouring in for the scaffold. But Dan Xingshun's group of 3 fended them off, but not even they fathomed those 3 old guys would go through such a change in a century. It shocked them to the core. Then they looked at Zhuo Fan with a glimmer in their eyes. It was obvious he had a role to play in it. Jingwei, both sides have Sword Kings, so why are they stronger than ours? We can barely hold on. Bailey Jingshi was sweating buckets. If our Sword Kings fall, we have less ways of dealing with them. Bailey Jingwei grimaced, glancing behind at the thunderclap in the distance, his eyes glinting. Chapter 1164, Invincible Axe. Chapter 1164, Invincible Axe. Proofreader, Papatonks. Rumble. Lightning snaked through the clouds with a low rumble, like the growl of a beast. The sky turned white in the distance. That was where the god of the Sword Star Empire, Bailey Yutian, was in seclusion, even with the public square drowned in battle and killing. The powerful explosions left the people deafened. Zhuo Fan still stood straight on the scaffold, his eyes fixed on the thunder and lightning, waiting along with Bailey Jingwei with a draconic roar. Dan Xingshun struck. turning the thousands of experts in front to floating ashes. With music, Zither Sword King's 7 notes obscure sword turned his enemies into mush. Wine Sword Immortal spurted wine, unleashing a firestorm that left nothing behind. The three worked together to stop the endless flood of soldiers, looking grave. They knew Joa Fan was there, but they uttered no complaint. They knew kings went for kings and generals against generals. The Dark Demon Lord's opponent had yet to come rumble. A purple lightning flared, and Shower stepped in front of Bali Yuyu. Bali Yuyu blocked, making it a draw. Glaring at the purple-haired girl, Bali Yuyu patted. Where did the punk find such a weird expert, so young and so abnormally strong? I was thinking of throwing the fight with this girl, for his sake. It's clear now that I was overthinking things. The girl is so ruthless that me going easy will get me killed. Curses, didn't the punk tell his people to go easy on me? Humph, he forgot everything then. Sister, the purple girl giggled, teasing, it's been a while, but you're still as strong. Ugh, Bali Yuyu gave her a long look, and you're, forgot me already? And you even faked being my mother. Chow, Bali Yuyu started, her eyes wide. You're all grown up and so strong too? Just like your old man, inhuman. I never was a human though. Shower snickered to herself. Sister, we had a good time back then and always considered you one of us. The Empire is done for, so why not join us? Stop spouting nonsense. The Empire won't fall. Bali Yuyu flared, then frowned in worry and hesitation. She was a Bailey. The others could betray, but for her to switch sides out of the blue, she'd feel guilty. The Patriarch might have been harsh on her, but he was never cruel. How could she betray him without a good reason? Shower smiled. Fine, since you haven't made up your mind, I won't force you. Once the Empire falls, why not stay with us? Hey, girlie, wake up. Our Empire's armies have you surrounded. Worry about. Are those your armies? Shower cut her off. Pointing, Bali Yuyu looked over to find a shocking scene. What's going on? Bali's Sword Kings were all on the ground, battered and wounded. Muron Lai's side held them with a cold stare. In merely minutes, the result between the two sides was in an overwhelming victory. Bali Yuyu stared dumbly. Why are Devil Palace's people so strong? Sister, over the last century, besides me and brother helping father as Dharma Kings, those 3 coots have been doing nothing but being in seclusion to learn the sword with father, ignoring everything else. Shower cocked her head. Think about it. What kind of people are they really? Stuck together every day, testing their sword skills and getting Dad's hints, their power sword. They're now stronger than even a Sword King. I picked you as my opponent just so those geezers wouldn't hurt you. I've been easy on you already. Bali Yuyu's face twitched. You went easy? Of course. Why do you think you're still standing there? Ugh, fine. Feeling sweat trickling down, Bali Yuyu figured out the truth and felt like she aged then and there. The new replaces the old. That same cute child turned out to be going easy on me. The Emperor, Bailey Jingshire, was dumbstruck, slumping in his throne. It's all over. All Sword Kings. Bailey Jingwei gave him a look, then clenched his fists, waiting as his eyes refused to give up. Bam! With the last explosion, Shangguan Feiyun fell among the other Sword Kings of the Empire. Shangguan Feixiong and Murong Lai walked up, looking down on them. Ouyang Chongqing chuckled, pointing at Bailey Jingtian. What's wrong? Now you know how even 100 years isn't too late for a gentleman's revenge. Lone armed Sword King. Just kill me already. Bailey Jingtian huffed. Ouyang Chongqing sneered. Shangguan Feixiong stared at Shangguan Feiyun. Feiyun, you betrayed the clan, and it's my duty as the elder to take you back and be punished. I have nothing to say to you. Shangguan Feiyun closed his eyes, his fists still clenched, his scarred and bloody-faced, desolate Shangguan Feixiong cupped his hands. People, leave Shangguan Feiyun to me. The rest can be Devil Palace's captives, and yours to do what you like. They all nodded. Thunder exploded just as they were about to be taken in. From far in the distance, a flash of purple passed, and a violent surge spread over the battlefield. Tits. They all shuddered at the familiar pressure. Bailey Jingwei lit up, cackling. Ha ha ha! Finally, our patron god is here. Joa Fan, Devil Palace is finished. Whoosh! The purple glow flew up like a lightning dragon, dyeing the entire sky in purple. A thunderstorm began brewing above, sending its pressure on all below. Invincible Sword Bailey Yutian is still alive. Patriarch Muron Lai shouted, while Bailey inside was overjoyed, hope at victory restored as long as the Patriarch remained. The Empire endured. Danxing Shun was fending of the army when he looked grave at the purple glow. The invincible sword hadn't been seen for a century and was thought to be dead. Now he makes his appearance. This is bad, but many turned to Zhua Fan, hopeful Bam. Muron Lai ignored everything and shot at the purple glow with battle spirit. Invincible sword, the best in the world. After 100 years, I've come to challenge you after the last defeat. We as well. The others ignored the wounded sword kings and followed Muron Lai into the sky, their blazing thirst for battle blinding. Even Xiaoer ended up going, Bali Yu not stopping her. Everyone else blinked in stunned silence. Do they think 7 together could defeat Patriarch? No, they don't care about winning, only fighting. But what's the point in fighting a losing battle? The Sword Kings looked at the 7 and began to understand the mystery of the strong. Whoosh! The purple glow passed through the 7 and slammed into the center of the square, revealing a thin armor, a cape, and an aged face. His eyes stared like daggers, the strongest, the invincible sword. Bang! The subsequent thunderclaps made the 7 pummel to the ground as they trailed blood. They groaned and coughed more blood, slumping in their own blood. Chapter 1165, Peak Showdown. Chapter 1165, Peak Showdown. Proofreader, Papatonks. Who? An oppressive silence fell, with only the howling wind's presence being known as it fluttered the old man's white hair. There were no shouts, no clashes on the square. Even Danxing Shun's group of 3 stopped. All eyes were on the old man, built like a god, with sharp eyes and a deadly aura. It only took one moment for the Dharma Kings and 2 emissaries to be on the ground. Wounded, behold the power of the invincible sword. He's the living proof that the Sword Star Empire shall never fall. All of the Empire's soldiers were filled with worship and respect, while everyone else saw him as a monster. Ling Yintian felt regret. I must have lost my mind to spare this insane freak back then. Regret always came after, huh? Bailey Jingwei cackled, stepping forward as he turned smug. Steward Zhua, you lose. The Patriarch hasn't been seen for the last century, but he's still alive. As long as he is present, the Empire will stand forever. You'll be the one to do the dying today, along with all those traitors going down with you. Your 100-year plan is wasted. Roar. The soldiers roared in approval and excitement. The Empire's strongest symbol was their god, the invincible sword. The Sword Kings could fall, but never him. Bali Yu turned a worried look to Zhua Fan. Her fists clenched. She didn't know how he got away from Patriarch last time, but now his 7 experts were on the ground. How was he going to cope with the old man? Ignoring the crowd's confusion, worry, and joy, Zhua Fan made a move. He took his time walking towards the invincible sword. Prime Minister Bailey, I thought I told you. My plan was laid out to control the speed of your actions. And why, you'd ask? Haha, so I could get ready and enter the final battle. Zhua Fan showed a smirk, his hand flashing black as a dark blade came out, covered in 4 colors at the edge, before shooting for Bailey Yuqian. Keep them safe. Right. Danxing Shun's group gave their all in keeping the convicts alive. Ding. For the first time, Bailey Yuqian took out his thundering divine sword as he turned into a purple glow, charging at Zhua Fan. Black and purple intersected, with the 2 swords soon clashing in a violent display boom. The shock wave shuddered the earth and rippled the sky, followed by a fierce gale and dust storm. Bailey Jingwei and the Emperor ducked at once, sticking their heads to the ground and letting the deadly winds pass over their backs, but they still felt pain. As for the soldiers, they exploded in a shower of blood and gore, adding a dark red tint to the already bloody spectacle. More than 100,000 lost their lives just then, reduced to gunk on the ground. Never knowing what hit them, the shock wave went for 1,000 miles, laying the imperial capital to ruin. Bailey Jingwei finally looked up after it passed, only to see rubble and dust replacing the lavish imperial capital. The other lucky survivors looked around shell-shocked. Mommy, what power was that? It leveled imperial capital. Everyone that lived were shaking in fear and alarm. Only Bailey Jingwei laughed. See that? This is the power of the patriarch. Zhuo Fan, you're nothing but a conniving ant before him. The terrified soldiers perked up at the prospects. This is the patriarch's divine might. One sword is enough to send all enemies to hell. We won. Bali Yuyu crawled to her feet, hearing Bali Yuyun's cackle, and shook. Her heart was a mess, in frantic worry as she looked around. Where's the punk? He couldn't be dead. But with Patriarch's power, Bali Yuyu grew restless. Prime Minister Bailey, you're getting ahead of yourself. Bailey Jingwei froze, peering through the settling dust at the scaffold and the safe convicts. Only the three protectors looked a bit pale, and cough blood. Zhuo Fan had them take the aftermath, but it also left them wounded. Dan Shin sighed. Such is the invincible sword's power, able to give us heavy wounds without trying. Taking on that strike would have annihilated us for sure. The old man is a terrifying monster. Yeah. The other two agreed. Bailey Jingwei snickered. Obviously, since none can withstand the patriarch's godly might. Did you think Zhuo Fan can take a strike? Ha, what a sick joke. Not just take it, but win. Dan Shun wiped his mouth of blood, showing a wide smile. Prime Minister Bailey, didn't you find it strange how, having fallen in with the Empire for 100 years, we betrayed our homelands and struck at our own people, letting the whole world scorn us, yet turned our back on the Empire at the very end? Bailey Jingwei stared at him hard. Dan Shun grinned and shouted, because we saw hope in defeating the strongest. That is Zhuo Fan. The other two nodded, showing conviction. Bailey Jingwei grimaced, whipping his head to turn to the fight. A wind blew the dust away and revealed two men with divine swords grinding on each other. Bailey Yutian held the sundering sword in his aged but strong hands, looking excited. Zhuo Fan, in white, grinned as he met him with the black demonic sword, shining eerily. The black and white complemented each other to bring about new, deep contrasts. The swords screeched as they grounded, sending off sparks. The two were matched. Impossible. He blocked the patriarch's strike. Bailey Jingwei cried out, looking out of it, shaking his head to break away from reality. No, no one can take the patriarch's strike. No one. Everyone was just as shocked, even the sword kings and the soldiers. Only Dan Shun group grinned. We knew the brat will be the end of the invincible sword. I felt at the moment we fought. The Empire will fall at his hands. Zhuo Fan, finish him, and be the peak of the world. Zhuo Fan's ears twitched at the shout, but his mouth widened. That's a given. SSS. The Qilin arm flared scarlet as Zhuo Fan worked his magic, and the swords began to shift. The black sword used overwhelming power to push the purple one back. The invincible sword gripped the sundering sword as he staggered back one step at a time, the veins on his hands throbbing with strain, yet still unable to match the pressure. He grit his teeth, landing his sharp eyes on Zhuo Fan, filled with battle lust. 10,000 years. That's how long I waited for a worthy opponent. This fight, this peak battle is where I belong. Ha ha! Bailey Yutian laughed with joy. Zhuo Fan. Chapter 1166, Sword Energy Storm. Chapter 1166, Sword Energy Storm. Proofreader, Papatonks. Bam! Bailey Yutian roared as he pushed, giving it his all. Zhuo Fan's right arm shone redder, swinging the blade, and making both of them fall back. Zhuo Fan went back 20 steps while Bailey Yutian slided just as many. The two then snapped into action. Meeting in the middle again, the audience was dumbstruck, with Bailey Jingwei the most affected. No way. There's no way he can stand up to the patriarch. How did he gain such power? Look, Bailey Jingshur patted his shoulder, pointing at the sky. Bailey Jingwei shook, his mouth agape. The others noticed it too, and were now looking blankly. Bali Yuyu and Dan Shun were looking at the baffling scene like it was the stuff of dreams. It made not an ounce of sense. The sky was split cleanly in two. One bird approached the dividing line, and as it flew under it, Its head got looped off. A human did that. A human had cut the sky in two. This can't be happening. Looking closer at the dividing line, it was right where the two had separated. The two had given their all, and while neither budged, the sword energy shot into the sky and cut it. Instead, the audience found the two even more monstrous. Just how far are they on the path of the sword to cut the heavens? Gulping hard, they only held fear for them. This isn't humanly possible. Bailey Yutian ignored the weird looks, grinning. Ha ha ha, it's great that you survived and came to meet me. Let's settle our promise from 100 years ago. The winner goes to Devil Mountain, reaching new heights, while the loser will become a stepping stone, stuck in this place. Whoosh! Waving the demonic sword, Zhuofan turned cold. That's why I'm here, to return there as the best in mortal domain and challenge higher beings. Bailey Yutian did the same with no qualms, shouting, Good, but I'll be the one reaching it while you'll make me grow in this fight. I'll be the winner. Bailey Yutian laughed, filled with thirst for battle. Zhuofan smiled, his aura flaring. The Empire's Sword Kings were startled, recalling Murong Lai's words. Patriarch isn't here for Sword Star Empire, but to answer the challenge. Zhuofan worked hard to ruin the Empire and unite the lands, but seeing the Patriarch, even he put aside the Empire's fate, fighting just for the sake of it. Is this the world of the strong, unsullied by the mundane? They saw it now through a different light. That's why Murong Lai said we're unlike the Patriarch. This proves it. Who? A wind passed, drifting a ruined leaf and letting it float down between the two, giving start to their second clash. Only this time, the two turned into specters, fading in and out as they struck. The air was thick with energy, like something was wrapping around them. One with the world, the kid reached this state as well. Bailey Yutian cried out. When the invincible sword cut down the 9th-level spiritual beast, he showed the same effect. He thought only the Patriarch could reach it. But now, 100 years later, Zhuofan had caught up. The kid is a monster not even the Patriarch can compare with. Bang! The divine swords met, the only moment when their figures were remotely visible. They then clashed left and right, and all over the place, the constant ringing of metal deafening to the audience as the air looked to be torn asunder. The dumbstruck onlookers were left agape. This level of skill went beyond anyone's comprehension, even a Sword King's. They couldn't even see the moves. They finally understood the difference between a Sword King and the invincible sword. It wasn't just power, but also understanding. Yet Zhuofan had enough of both to meet the invincible sword at every turn. Bang. As they clashed, the rest of the people there couldn't even catch a shadow, only hearing the resulting explosions and seeing the fracturing air. Worry crept in as sweat poured down. It didn't look like an all-out clash like the first one, but it was still terrifying at their level. None had any idea where the two would meet next, the unknown danger looming over their heads like death. Even Sword Kings were powerless. Flinching at the clashes, Dan Shun's group wiped their brow at the tearing sound, knowing it to be reality breaking around them. The two powerhouses walked the furthest on their paths to reach the Tao, making anyone weaker unable to feel what they were doing. Whoosh. The two popped into sight just then. Their eyes met and laughed at the cracked air. Good. I did not think a kid like you would have such deep insights into the Tao. We're both treading this path, our senses beyond human comprehension. There's no winning in this aspect, so let's just stop. Bailey Yutian shouted as he waved, and the rest sighed with relief. Too soon, though. Let's test sword insights now. We shall see if my understanding of the sundering sword art and yours of the sword can match. Bailey Yutian shook, and the sky crackled with purple lightning, booming everywhere. Bailey Yutian pointed the sundering sword at the sky, and the lightning flocked, releasing dreadful power that swallowed the world around them as devastating sword waves flew in every direction. A sword energy storm. Humph! My sundering sword art is one of destruction. Anything will crumble beneath it, to ashes. Nothing in creation can stop my sword. Oh, since you trained in destruction, I trained in devouring. Smirking, Zhuofan shook and blackness oozed out of the world's crevices. It blended with the cracks in the sky, swallowing everything into a complete abyss. The heavens now looked ghastly. One side purple and another pitch black, monstrous. As the growls began, the people shook with fear, their imagination going wild, thinking of the savage creatures that might pounce on them from the darkness. Looking at it another way, the two's mastery of world energy was at a tie, with each slicing half of the heavens for themselves. This never happened in the history of the Five Lands, that of someone able to take control of any piece of the sky from the invincible sword. The audience paled, with the Sword King's faces twitching. Using swordsmanship as a contest means drawing on the world's energy to turn the world into a battlefield. Anything in that domain will be destroyed. To make it worse, it's between the invincible sword and Zhuo Fan, of all people. The invincible sword's sundering sword is one of utter destruction, erasing anything it touched. Zhuo Fan's power is still unknown. The moment they started going at each other, not even a Sword King was confident he or she could outlive that. The people's hearts sank, sighing in misery. Sirs, it'd be better off if you just kept to the previous style. Sure, we couldn't see you, but at least we had the highest chance of us surviving it. Well, we can now see what you're doing now, but what's the point when the scope is so large that it includes us as well? Where are we supposed to hide? The audience wallowed in despair at their fate. Rumble. The two fighters went off once more, with purple sword waves slamming down and leaving nothing behind but dust. The unlucky soldiers died before even screaming. Bailey Yutian showed no remorse, even as his own countrymen, loyal soldiers, died from his errant strikes. He just hacked with the sundering sword, unleashing even more sword waves at Zhuo Fan's black sky. Zhuo Fan, take this. Star's severing sword, hero's demise. Chapter 1167, Soaring Power. Chapter 1167, Soaring Power. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh. Piercing buzzing came from all directions, followed by thunderous boom of lightning as countless thunderblades shot for Zhuo Fan's black domain and tore it apart. Zhuo Fan's darkness lost half its ground in the sky from the onslaught, while the Empire's soldiers suffered heavy casualties as well. Dying by the dozens, Bailey Jingwei didn't care. The only thing mattering to him was the Patriarch taking the lead. Genesis stage focused on control of world power. Zhuo Fan's control was now slipping, and that meant he was at a disadvantage. The Patriarch is gaining the upper hand. Dan Xingshun's group frowned with worry. In a Genesis stage battle, losing the sky is like being disarmed. Zhuo Fan didn't look affected, hovering with pride among the darkness with a sinister grin. The demonic sword in his hand, oozing darkness, had its strip of blue shining a deep and cold glow. Whoosh, making a radiant arc through the sky. The heavens shook as an unnatural power came from the darkness. The thunder blades still assaulted it, only this time they stalled before sinking like rocks. The relentless attack slowed down to a trickle and then to a halt, letting the darkness swallow them. What's going on? Bailey Jingwei watched as the lightning sky was invaded by the darkness and didn't understand. The Patriarch's strike was like a meteor shower, leaving his opponent worse for wear. None could defend, even against a tenth of the strikes. Why then did the blades stop? Many others were just as puzzled. Only the wounded Ouyang Lingtian propped himself and looked with a chuckle. Zhuo Fan is a true genius. My understanding of the heaven-sealing sword over the last 1,000 years pales compared to his short century of study. Heaven-sealing sword. Bailey Yutian squinted at Zhuo Fan, finding it true, then mocked. Great, I wanted to learn each of the 5 divine sword arts, but I've never seen anyone in the world mastering the other 4 and fight me with it. Now you use the heaven-sealing sword art, blocking my star-severing swords. You open my eyes. A shame you lost more than half of your control and have fallen in disadvantage in terms of world energy. Would you be able to seal my next attack? Ha ha ha. The invincible sword hacked with his divine sword, sending a deadly aura of power. At the same time, the thunder in the sky focused on the sundering sword, shining as bright as the sun. The invincible sword roared and struck. Zhuo Fan, this strike can cleave heaven. Will you be able to seal such an indomitable slash? Whoosh. Following the crack of lightning, A purple sword wave flew at Zhuo Fan. Except for some darkness and the stopped thunderblades, everything broke apart to nothing. The disintegrating power marched at Zhuo Fan, wanting to erase him from this world. Heaven's sealing sword art only knows to seal. The stronger the skill, the easier it is to overwhelm it. Bailey Yutian has now used a strike to sever the heavens, using absolute power to break the seal. It'll need a power many times stronger for the gentle heaven-sealing sword art to seal something like that. Danqing Shun gasped, and Zhuo Fan is nowhere above the old man's. With the sky mostly lost as well, he's at a disadvantage. He has no way of retaliating against the old monster's sundering sword art. Bailey Jingwei snickered at the words. Now the punk will die. Zhuo Fan showed no fear against the incoming deadly blow, swinging the demonic sword in the air, the blue line on its shining softly whoosh. The dark sky moved, focusing on the sword, surging with power. The thick black energy brought thousands of sealed thunder blades onto the demonic sword, bolstering its power. Danqing Shun's eyes shook in amazement. I totally forgot. He doesn't just use heaven-sealing sword art, but vaulting sword art as well. He might have little world energy he could use, but the old monster's sword he sealed is now at his disposal. Vaulting sword art harmonizes yin and yang, a mixed art. Using others' power, Zhuo Fan can match the old monster. But vaulting sword art is also a gentle skill and might not be enough to defeat the brutal, sundering sword art, soaring into the heavens with the sword. Shangguan Feixiong propped his body and looked up while smiling. Brother Ouyang, did you ever think the four strongest swords arts would come together in one man? Ha ha ha. I for one didn't even after meeting the little freak. For a man of such perception to be in the world that could comprehend four of the strongest sword arts, especially soaring sword art, looking as if it was made for him. Never in my wildest dreams would I ever conceive that the soaring sword art could unleash such power in the hands of a man. Ouyang Lingtian nodded, looking in Shangguan Feixiong's blazing gaze, and chuckled with hope as he returned his attention to the fight. The soaring sword art was made for the kid. There might not be another man that can use it to such an extent. Rumble. The invincible sword's purple sword wave destroyed all in its path. Unstoppable Zhuo Fan gave it a cold look, grinning, and then his qilin shone scarlet. What was even more strange was how the demonic sword's red line was also glowing, matching Zhuo Fan's right arm. Soaring sword, breaking heaven. The purple sword wave was upon him, burning most of his black domain, but Zhuo Fan never lost his cool. His grip tightened, and he slashed the sword, glowing a blinding red whoosh. A red wave shot, clashing with the purple one boom. Seconds after the deadlock, the purple lightning sword wave crumbled down. Everyone else was gobsmacked. The Patriarch's strongest strike got defeated just like that. How? The invincible sword was also shaken up, confident his sundering sword art had reached its peak, that the other's soaring sword art would never. Before he could make sense of everything, the red wave passed through the thunderclouds and took all his vision. It startled him that Zhuo Fan's sword didn't just break his, but struck back as well. No, this can't be. He can't break my blow and attack as well. Bailey Yutian was unable to take it in, but reality came crashing regardless. The deadly wave made Bailey Yutian gnash his teeth and slash. Defending comes first. Bam! But even defending went beyond his predictions. The red wave pushed back the sundering sword, even while he used all he had. It, along with the sword, pressed into his chest armor and kept pushing him back beyond shocked. He squeezed everything from his body into his arms and made the red wave slip beside the sundering sword and into the sky. Boom. The thunderstorm above sported an extra-large hole, with purple lightning flickering at the edges, unable to mend it. It was like it had some kind of power that broke Bailey Yutian's connection with the world. Everyone was rooted in shock, even Bailey Yutian, glancing at the far Zhuo Fan and the red glowing arm, coupled with the demonic sword, and for the first time, the best in the lands felt fear towards a human. His grip on his sword tightened in reflex. Chapter 1168. Defeat. Chapter 1168, Defeat. Proofreader, Papatonks. This can't be real. Bailey Jingwei's face twitched as he staggered. The patriarch got pushed back. No way. The rest were overwhelmed as well. The invincible sword showed signs of losing. This had never happened before. Ever Emperor Bailey Jingshi felt drained, slumping to the ground in shock. If the patriarch falls, the empire that lasted thousands of years will come crashing down. Dan Xingshun believed Zhuo Fan could do it, but to see it actualized was another thing. His power was beyond anything they knew, and the old monster only got out alive thanks to the sundering sword taking the brunt. The little monster's understanding of the soaring sword art was simply insane. The Shangguan clan had held onto the same sword for centuries, yet none could display what he could in 100 years. Shangguan Feiyun felt his throat dry. The soaring sword art could do that? Why didn't I realize? Only young Sanzi stood straighter, looking at Zhuo Fan's right hand and wiping his mouth of blood. Zhuo Fan's understanding of the soaring sword art came from his observations and insights into the soaring Qilin's power, with Zhuo Fan using a Qilin arm to unleash the soaring sword art. The power multiplied. It went as far as beyond what the old monster could take. Even with his peak sundering sword art, everyone looked tense at the fight. The invincible sword turned grave for once, facing his strongest adversary, yet with a cold glint in his eyes crack. The snapping sounds reached his ears, and Bailey Yutian's heart shook. He saw the armor on his chest sporting cracks from the soaring sword strike. Providence. Bailey Yutian sighed. I hope to finish this challenge with my past self from 100 years ago and reach the top with dignity. But he is too powerful. I have to give everything for any chance at seeing the new world. Bailey Yutian smirked, looking at Zhuo Fan with fire in his eyes. Zhuo Fan, come, let's finish this peak showdown. Gladly. Flicking the demonic sword, Zhuo Fan shouted back. They both shone red once more, using his power to slash and unleash another deadly soaring sword wave at Bailey Yutian. The invincible sword would no longer defend, but dodge instead, using the sundering sword as cover. Soaring sword wave flitted past, grazing the sundering sword. Yet the great power was enough to push on the cracked chest plate and spread the damage. The soaring sword art is truly frightening, holding so much power just within its aura alone. But it's almost time. The invincible sword turned to Zhuo Fan again after dodging, only to find him coming straight for his life right behind the sword wave. Ha! The soaring sword art is the strongest, but it is hardly enough to take you down. I'll have to do it up close and personal. Bam! Zhuo Fan flared scarlet and hacked. The invincible sword rushed to block with his sword, resulting in a loud clang as the swords collided. But under Zhuo Fan's power, the invincible sword faltered, with the demonic sword pressing on the sundering sword and into his chest crack. The invincible sword's armor got more cracks, faster and faster, covered all over in black veins, and ready to crumble. The invincible sword gnashed his teeth and stared at the youth just a foot from him without fear. His red face strained as he pushed, roaring and shoving Zhuo Fan back. Kid, you dare come close to me with such gall? Absurd. Thunderstorm. The invincible sword shouted and waved the sundering sword, making the sky rain down thousands of thunder swords at Zhuo Fan from all directions. Zhuo Fan was in enemy territory, with the world's energy here in the other's control. He could no longer use the heaven-sealing sword art to seal the strikes. In a Genesis stage fight, each had their own domain, and charging into another's territory was the same as throwing away his advantage, the world energy he controlled. It was beyond dangerous. None would do it without utmost certainty of victory. Zhuo Fan took such incomprehensible risk to fight Bailey Yutian up close, only to find out the strike did not end his opponent, suffering retaliation instead. Zhuo Fan was the one in dire straits. Now, Bailey Jingwei's side cheered with renewed hope. Zhuo Fan was ever calm, the demonic sword's golden line shining bright and unleashing a scorching heat. Decimating sword art, decimating heaven. Whoosh! He waved at the sky, sending searing waves in all directions. In moments, golden flames formed in the sky as thick firewalls put a barrier between him and the sky. The purple lightning waves landed on the flame walls, hissing to nothing. The decimating sword art was similar to the sundering sword art, both preferring raw power, but the difference was with the decimating sword art being partial to some flexibility. Hard, but not brutal. By using this trait, gentleness overcame strength and burned the incoming waves of attacks to nothing. Bailey Yutian's wide sword wave attack used with word power was stopped for moments. Ample time whoosh. With the invincible sword isolated from the sky, Zhuofan had removed both of their ties to the world power and now flashed in Bailey Yutian's face once more, his arm flaring scarlet and using soaring sword art to slash at his opponent's head. A scarlet glow came out of the blade's edge, forcing Bailey Yutian to gnash his teeth and block with his sword for the second time. Now, though, with such a close distance, the sword wave proved even more powerful. Bailey Yutian had no way of deflecting it, letting the divine sword push into his chest and closer to his heart. No amount of strength helped. The invincible sword's cracked armor crumbled to pieces, and the soaring sword's power entered his heart, making him cough 3 crimson mouthfuls of blood. He shot back like a meteor, slamming hard in the ground, forcing up a cloud of dust and entrails as his force pulverized hundreds of thousands of the Empire's soldiers. Bailey Jingwei's group was quick, ducking out of the shockwave, with Danqing Shun's group doing their best to protect the convicts. Once dust settled, Zhuofan hovered above, but the purple-tinged sky was no more. It was a testament to the invincible sword losing control, or better yet, the man himself was. Bailey Jingwei's eyes shook, looking at the dozens of miles big crater with dead eyes. How could the Patriarch just lose? Bailey Yutian is dead. We won. Seeing no thunder in the sky, Zither Sword King took a deep breath and roared in excitement. Zhuofan's soaring sword art was too damn strong. Not even the invincible sword could take it on, for if he had even a bit of strength left, the purple lightning in the sky would have stayed. Devil Palace and the 4 lands convicts cheered as well, to think that the great invincible sword had got to see this day. Only the Bali Sword Kings and the Empire's soldiers slumped on the ground in disbelief. The Patriarch couldn't have lost. Regardless of their wants and needs, the purple was gone and the Empire had fallen. The invincible nation knocked down from its pedestal on high along with its invincible god. While some rejoiced, others mourned. Along with the frantic glee, there were equally opposite sorrow and lament. Zhuofan kept staring at the crater. Even now, the sword was strong, but only enough to damage the old man, not kill him. SSS. Thunder crackled, then, as purple lightning spread across the sky, once more an even greater power pressed down, taking the breath away from all onlookers. An aged voice came from the crater. I never thought it had come to this. But now Zhuofan. Chapter 1169, Spirit King. Chapter 1169, Spirit King. Proofreader, Papatonks. All shuddered at the fear they felt from the familiar voice. They turned their stiff heads at the crater, with some showing despair while others exhilaration. The Empire lives on. Rumble. Purple lightning reemerged, with the entire sky turning purple, without a single trace of darkness. Even the air itself became electrified, as purple lightning snaked everywhere. Zhuofan was surrounded by purple glows in seconds. Coming from everywhere, what's going on here? Danqing Shun's heart jumped in his throat, looking at the flickering lightning just a foot from his soaked head. This isn't world power, so why is the entire world coming under the old monster's control? A purple lighting strike flared next to him and flung him 24 meters away. His face red as he coughed blood. The rest found the hard way how the lightning could strike at any time, and fear gripped their hearts. What the hell is going on? We clearly aren't in the old monster's domain, but why would it appear around us? A Genesis stage expert should not be able to exert control to this extent. It feels like the world is at his whims, and we're its prisoners to kill at the slightest discontent. This is terrifying. Zither Sword King and Ling Yuntian glanced at the purple lightning around with sweat all over. Bailey Jingwei laughed and cupped his hands. Patriarch is unstoppable. With the Patriarch around, The empire shall never fall. Ha ha. The patriarch is unstoppable. The patriarch is unstoppable. The soldiers shouted like fanatics, throwing fists in the air. The rest were looking bleak. Like they entered hell, they knew Bailey Yuqian was strong. But now strength did not cut it as apt description of that monster. It went beyond the realm of human comprehension as the lightning danced around them, ready to send them to an early grave at any given moment. Their previous joy at victory became a crushing despair. They were mice trapped in the old man's cage, for him to toy with as he wished. He had stopped being a man, turning into a living god. Who could possibly take on a god? They turned to Zhuo Fan in the sky, holding a shred of forlorn hope. Only a demon could fight a god. Its antithesis, only Zhuo Fan, a demon, has the strength to do it. Hope flickered in the depths of their gazes as they turned to the man in the sky. With a crumbling sound and the lightning flaring, Invincible Sword's tough body floated out of the crater. Lightning covered him like a thunder god. His armor was gone. There was blood on his mouth, but his eyes were sharp and his aura explosive. Bailey Jingwei side laughed. The patriarch is unstoppable. Zhuo Fan, these mortals are clueless, but not you. Ignoring the fanatic joy below, Bailey Yuqian stared at Zhuo Fan with a grin. Zhuo Fan nodded. Above Genesis is the Spirit King stage, wielding the power of the air around us. A Genesis stage expert only controls the power above to give him a boost in battle. A Spirit King is like a border official, able to control the entire space. Every corner is suffused with your power for you to do anything you want with it. That's a Spirit King. Yes, I knew you're not like these mortals and know far more than we do. Bailey Yuqian laughed. Zhuo Fan, the day you told me there's something above Genesis stage, I was skeptical. Even as I saw you fight the sea demon, doubt remained. Only when I advanced and felt all the power you spoke, I realized you never lied to me. Mortality through spirituality, imperial, saintly, and sovereignty, it's all real. Devil Mountain is real. That's why I can't wait to see everything for myself. Mere days after I broke through, I felt my body light, like there's something pulling at me to leave. What's keeping you then? Ling Yun Tian and the rest sighed, quipping in their minds. Zhuo Fan paused in thought. Going above Genesis, you can no longer stay in the mortal domain. That's why there's no one above mortal stages in the mortal domain. They all left. But left where exactly? Why haven't I heard of any of them before? Zhuo Fan pondered and Bailey Yuqian grinned. As it stands, I should just let go and see the new world. But I remembered our promised fight. I didn't know of your fate, but I still waited. Also, Jingwei told me the Empire is about to change. I had a refiner make me an 11th grade spiritual armor to restrain my cultivation before I be forced to leave, but to think Providence brought you to me. I could fight to my heart's content and finish it once and for all with you. Huh? Why didn't you go all out just now? Zhuo Fan taunted. Did you think Genesis stage was enough to deal with me, perhaps? Bailey Yuqian nodded. Zhuo Fan, you know about the Spirit King stage, and thus must know about its power. Fighting, as I am, would be like taking it out on you, while taking out all the fun from the fight. But I never imagined you'd go beyond this level after 100 years. That sword would have crippled the past me. A shame the 11th grade spiritual armor broke, and my power is let loose. In 2 hours, I'll be forced to leave. Bailey Yuqian glanced at the wide sky outside of the ever-present lightning. There was a shimmering light growing as it fell, like a tunnel for him to ascend and leave this world behind. I want to have a blast fighting you some more. What shame I'm running out of time and you out of power. As a fellow warrior, I shall send you off myself, out of respect. Bailey Yuqian eased a breath and raised a hand. The air grew heavy and the lightning around Zhuo Fan focused on him. I'll be honored to fulfill your final wish. Boom! Zhuo Fan slashed his demonic sword, sending golden flames around to obliterate the lightning. You're too kind, invincible sword, but that should be my line. I'll be sure to take your head before the call pulls you away. Allow me to fulfill any of your last wishes. Ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan, you're really something. Do you really think you have a chance? Bailey Yuqian mocked. Your sword is strong, but can no longer hurt me, for everything around us is under my control. There's no hope for you. That's why I didn't want to fight you as a Spirit King stage cultivator. It's boring. Whoosh! A scarlet sword wave flew at Bailey Yutian's neck in reply. Unleashed by Zhuofan with all his power, the invincible sword wasn't as hard-pressed, merely extending 2 fingers to cross them under the frightened eyes of many. The air warped, and Zhuofan's attack got deviated by a meter from Bailey Yutian. Letting it explode, somewhere, behind Bailey Yutian, stood there with a tranquil expression. This is my world, and you can no longer touch me. Danqing Shun's side lamented, hanging their heads and feeling disgruntled. Why? Why is it that a man appeared that can take the invincible sword down, but the monster had to advance as well? Now everyone will die, all plans wasted. All their efforts had been in vain. The invincible sword really is invincible. Bailey Jingwei's side had a victorious smile and stuck out their chests. None noticed that Zhuofan wore a sinister smile, as well he sometimes touched his covered eyes with a calm expression. I should go all out as well, ha ha ha. Chapter 1170, Unsealed. Chapter 1170, Unsealed. Proofreader, Papatonks. Thunder Cage. Bailey Yutian raised his hand in Zhuofan's direction and grabbed at air. A shame, I'll be the one going to Devil Mountain. Zhuofan, farewell forever. Rumble. Thunder rumbled, like the space was cracking as the lightning around Zhuofan boxed him in like a claw from all directions. Purple lightning was prevalent everywhere he looked. Blocking any means of escape, Zhuofan was fated to be blasted into thousands of pieces, watching their only hope about to shatter. The rest sighed. Luo Yinchang teared up as she cried, Zhuofan. Master, Big Brother Zhuo, Steward Zhuo. All of the Luo clan was worried, yet powerless to do anything more than shout shower, and Gu Santong were his children, and the only ones calm. They just watched, like it was all just a show. Ouyang Lingtian gave them an odd look. Aren't you the least bit worried your father's about to die? Why should we be? You call that dying when Dad didn't even go all out? Gu Santong scoffed. Wait until Dad's out of tricks and can't do anything. That's where the real danger is. Until then, this is nothing. Ouyang Lingtian gave him a long and dull look. Your dad didn't go all out yet? He used all of the 4 sword arts, and even that wasn't enough to deal with Bailey Yutian. Now a stage above him, a Spirit King. How can he still have a way of pulling off a win in this desperate situation? Ice King, you just don't know our dad. Shower teased. Dad only focused on the sword for the last 100 years, but it's not like he didn't beat others before that. You know, most of Dad's power is in his eyes. Anything short of that means going easy. Eyes. Ouyang Lingtian's side blinked, turning to the white figure in the sky, and found him to be unfazed from all the deadly lightning crackling around. He gave a casual pull at the eye cover, and it showed eyes encased in ice, along with a strange mark on his forehead. I understand the heaven-sealing sword art fully and know how to use sealing. The eyes shouldn't lash out again. Zhuofan made a sign and brought 2 fingers to his forehead hum. The mark on Zhuofan's forehead glowed an intense blue as it faded slowly from his skin as its power disappeared. The frost on his eyes melted. Zhuofan became excited, eagerly anticipating the result rumble. The lightning was right next to him now. Bailey Yutian flicked his hand, and the area crackled hard. Zhuofan was surrounded by a flood of lightning, the purple color so blinding and the power terrifying. As it spread, everything in its path died. Zhuofan. Luo Yinchang wailed, with the rest sighing. Bali Yu hung her head forlorn. I should have stopped you from meeting the patriarch, but now. Ouyang Lingtian made a weird face, turning to Gu Santong. Where's your dad? Dead? The 2 still looked undisturbed, puzzling the other Dharma Kings. Bailey Yutian sighed at the white glow becoming stronger and bigger. A poor ending, but at least I got my pass for Devil Mountain. Now I can go without qualms. Ha ha ha. Aren't you afraid I'll be laying waste to your empire if you go? A wild laughter came. Bailey Yutian's heart jumped, turning to where the lightning was most focused. Rumble. A crackle far louder and terrible than the purple lightnings covered the sky as black thunder flames exploded into existence. The purple lightning put up no resistance in its path, revealing a most familiar figure, unaffected by the encroaching black flames, but now his eyes were opened. The right eye glowed golden with 4 rings, while the left eye glowed faintly blue with sparks around the sucking abyss of flames. Bailey Yutian gasped. "Why are you not dead? I told you, I should be the one to fulfill your will. How could I die before that?" Zhuo Fan smirked. Bailey Yutian stared at him hard, then chuckled. "Humph, it won't change anything regardless. You are in the Genesis stage and can't do anything to me. I'm truly invincible now. I don't know how you lived through that, but you can't harm me. You could survive every time you want, but you'll never win." Zhuo Fan gave a deep smile and replied, "True, against a spirit king. The Genesis stage is worlds below." Bailey Jingwei snickered, filled with disdain. "You got out alive, but the patriarch's the ultimate existence of this world. What could you possibly do?" "Humph." Bailey Yutian's eyes shone and sent a palm attack. "A sword king's lashing. Let's see you deal with this." Whoosh! The whole sky crackled and was littered with purple sword waves as they rained down on Zhuo Fan. Unlike the last time, not only the range was way bigger, but the power had multiplied as well, as did their numbers. The thick hail of energy blades came down on Zhuo Fan to skewer him and bury him. Invincible Sword watched for anything he might pull this time. It was quite baffling how Zhuo Fan just stood there, not budging an inch. Whoosh! Zhuo Fan flickered out of sight, the wide attack hitting nothing. Where'd he go? Bailey Yutian started whoosh. A fierce gale blew out. Just then from his side, Bailey Yutian flinched and slashed with sundering sword in reflex bam. With a scarlet glow and the familiar ruthless power coming into his heart, Bailey Yutian's hands went soft as he got flung into the air. His blood was boiling as he stopped in the air, finding Zhuo Fan in his previous position, with his right eye shining in one golden halo. "The space is under my control. How did you get next to me? That's impossible." Thunder Flame Void Annihilation. Zhuo Fan's reply was a quirky smile, his right eye shining in 2 golden rings while his left flashed with a black thunder flame whoosh. A broken beam of black flames shot from Zhuo Fan's eyes and at Bailey Yutian. Thanks to Zhuo Fan's boost in power, his eyes grew stronger as well, to a terrifying degree. Even Bailey Yutian, a fresh Spirit King, was slow to react against the Thunder Flame empowered Void Annihilation as it came for his life. Bailey Yutian could only use the ability of Spirit King, extending his fingers to warp space in front of the attack and deflected. It didn't help. Bam! The attack hadn't deviated even an inch, the black beam of flames shooting for the invincible sword still. As Void Annihilation was the bane of any spatial skills, no spatial attack could affect it. The move wouldn't be so named otherwise. The Thunder Flame was also capable of burning anything in existence. The invincible sword ended up a powerless Spirit King before this kind of attack. Forced back despite his overwhelming power, the Divine Eye of the Void was a sovereign's ultimate skill as well. There was hardly any skill more qualified in the spatial field in the whole sacred domain. Chapter 1171. Unleashed Power. Chapter 1171. Unleashed Power. Proofreader, Papatonks. Bailey Yutian's eyes twitched at the incoming beam of black flames, his heart shaking. It went beyond his comprehension how he was in a stage beyond any mortal's grasp, yet a punk like Zhuo Fan defeated him. So he stopped trying to make sense of it all, calming himself down and raised the sundering sword out of instinct. Bam! The invincible sword's hands trembled, and he got sent flying from the mighty attack, only coming to a stop a mile away. The black flames spread over the blade and onto his shaking hands, as well staring hard at the snickering figure. Bailey Yutian turned grave. He had just used his advantage as Spirit King, yet it still proved useless against such an attack. It showed the possibility of losing this fight against some Genesis stage brat that could break his stage advantage. The audience was speechless, with Bailey Jingwei's group dumbstruck. They couldn't wrap their heads around how their patriarch, the peak existence of this world that had just gone a step higher, was pushed back. What the hell is Zhuo Fan? Darkness comes and Sword Star wanes. Someone from the Devil Palace began, and it turned into an endless flood as all disciples cheered, singing the song that had spread throughout the lands. More and more sang, stronger and stronger, the fervor igniting their spirits. He was the Dark Demon Lord, their Devil Palace Lord, and he was going to crush the undefeated nation. The fanatics shouting raged in the others' ears. Bailey Jingwei heard it too, his face bleak as he gnashed his teeth. The soldiers hesitated, not knowing what to do. It can't be true. The Patriarch losing, the Empire falling? As doubt spread through the battlefield, a barrier was placed around Bailey Jingshi, Bailey Jingwei, and their sword kings. The invincible sword looked at his divine sword wrapped in black flames and felt fear. It soon turned into raging battle lust. Flicking those flames off, he exploded with power, reaching every corner of the world and making it tremble. The deadly aura descended like the end of day was upon them. Divine Eye of the Void's fifth stage, Void Wall. Knowing what was happening, Zhuo Fan's right eye displayed 5 halos. The Dharma Kings and the Sword Kings on the scaffold were covered in 7 invisible barriers. Zhuo Fan raised his hand and traced along the demonic sword, making every inch he passed release black thunder flames, bolstering the demonic sword's power. Whoosh. He flicked it at the man in front with an evil smile, though his eyes were craving battle still, his power at its peak. Ugh. What are they doing this time? All the soldiers felt the space tremble with each barrier set in place, then looked at Bailey Jingwei's group and at the scaffold with tears in their eyes. Dude, you're both setting up for some absurd move, I get it, and you protected your main guys. But what about us? We're just small fries, so we could just die, is that it? This is discrimination. I tell you, discrimination. The Dark Demon Lord not included us nobodies, since we're enemies, but the Patriarch, you two? What's worse, you're the one who started this damn showdown. All were downcast and despairing at how easily they were cast aside. With no choice, they fled every which way. Rumble. They only raised a leg when suddenly the sky, earth, air, everything exploded with lightning. It disintegrated everything, the soldiers, the rocks, the remaining 10 million soldiers. All were gone just like that. The invincible sword shouted as he slashed at Zhuo Fan, the world becoming sword waves as they came at Zhuo Fan. Such a move was enough to do in a sword king. From the pressure and errant power alone, all the lucky survivors witnessed such godly power from the safety of their barrier. Is this the fully unleashed power of a spirit king? It's dreadful. It's like fighting the world itself. He controls the air and everything in it. Who could ever hope to overcome all that power? That's why they set up barriers. It's the only reason we can witness such might without turning to ashes as well. Having front row seats at the untold destruction, everyone felt a chill down their backs. They gasped at their fortune of being important enough to not get kicked to the curb. Some looked worried at Zhuo Fan. How was he going to face off against the world that had now turned on him? It was beyond merely sending waves of soldiers like they did with the invincible sword back in the last war, but against such incredible danger. Zhuo Fan smiled. Even with the world under Bailey Yutian's control, he won't ever get to control my surroundings. Zhuo Fan huffed. His right eye displayed 4 golden rings, and his left flickered with thunder and fire. Divine Eye of the Void's 4th stage. Thunder Flame Space Crusher. Boom! The space around him hummed as black thunder flames darkened it, turning it into Zhuo Fan's dark world. He was no spirit king, unable to control the air and space around him. But this small area answered to him, and him alone. Crack. The violent purple thunder blades shot for Zhuo Fan, but all were erased upon entering the black domain. Bailey Yutian narrowed his eyes, finding the mass attack useless, so he switched tactics. He gathered his power and slashed hard, opting for a focused strike to break the enemy's defense. Whoosh. A purple wave once again streaked the sky, turning 300 meters big as it got charged with the lightning it crossed along its path, looking to destroy the unstoppable domain. Zhuo Fan erected. Zhuo Fan's soaring sword art wasn't any weaker, though his right hand flared and slashed hard with the power of a Qilin. Whoosh. A black wave shot, inspiring dread and death as it met the invincible sword's attack rumble. The two waves exploded with noise and power. The pressure filled the world with purple lightning and black flames, sent everywhere like a meteor shower, destroying the already ruined place. Even more those behind the barrier watched this incredible showdown between mammoths. Glancing at the destruction around, they all felt their blood run cold. Curses, their clash only gets more unbelievable and world-ending. The shock had yet to subside, with Zhuofan wielding the demonic sword rushing at Bailey Yutian. His eyes maintained the Thunderflame Space Crusher, but instead of making it focus on himself, he made it turn into a mile-long black dragon. He stood on its head, charging with all his fury with the space under Bailey Yutian's control. Lightning struck him constantly from all over, to no avail against the mighty black dragon. All the thunder blades fizzled out as he charged to take down the head. Bailey Yutian's heart shook. Turning grave at Zhuofan's bravery, he now noticed that even with all his power, while he controlled the fate of everyone in his area, only Zhuofan was immune, a monster among monsters, running amok. Bailey Yutian steeled his heart and relinquished control of space around, focusing all the power of the world. Chapter 1172, Reaching the Summit. Chapter 1172, Reaching the Summit. Proofreader, Papatonks. SSS. The power rose sharply as it was focused. Bailey Yutian pointed his sword, with all the purple lightning focused on its edge. In practically an instant, endless amounts of purple lightning focused on him, bringing about a frightening display of raw power. With a sharp cry, the amassed purple lightning turned into a 300-meter huge bird carrying Bailey Yutian and the divine sword. Thanks to all that unimaginable power crammed in there, the huge bird was blinding in its glow like the sunbeam. Zhuofan and Bailey Yutian's blades once again met. Only this clash did not resume at their own power, as they had further amplified their strength through different means to new heights. Zhuofan's divine eye of the void and apocalyptic thunderflame tripled his power, while Bailey Yutian used everything at his disposal, his control of the world included, to focus the lightning into a bird. A tenfold increased. Zhuofan could handle a third of the invincible sword's strength with it being spread out. But now, with all that wild power concentrated, Zhuofan had no chance against it. Whoosh. Zhuofan got flung 2 miles along with his black dragon of Thunderflame. The invincible sword shuddered and fell back half a mile as they came to a halt. They charged again with their blades. The skies thrummed with their booming attacks as a black dragon and purple lightning bird kept colliding all over the place. In but moments, their blades screeched 100 times, shuddering the world around them. The audience, that was still alive, kept getting more shocked. The two of them had the literal power at their fingertips to kill millions of soldiers. They were weapons of mass destruction in and of themselves. No human should hold so much power. No wonder the world can't have both of them. The two spared no effort in securing victory at last. The sounds of their clashes, strong enough to raise the dead, ceased with the smash of one of them into the ground, leaving a crater dozens of miles wide. Dan Xingshun's group panicked, while Bailey Jingwei's group lit up. It was Zhuofan. Zhuofan rose from the deep rubble he was buried under and spat blood. He was gasping and weary shriek. The purple lightning bird hovered above his head. The invincible sword sat on the bird's head, gazing at his strongest opponent of his life, weary as well. But his eyes were smiling. Zhuofan, you lost. No matter how strong your soaring sword art is, you're stuck at the Genesis stage, limited by Yuan Qi and unable to match a spirit king like me. Going all out against me so many times was your mistake. Aren't you the same? Zhuofan huffed. Spirit King stage can control the power of space and air, but doesn't enjoy such a great increase of his own strength. Old man, focusing your control into a limited space only drew faster on your Yuan Qi reserves, faster than even me. Not to mention, how long can your age body last taking on so much power? I bet you can hardly move. Bailey Yutian grinned, his body swaying, with a popping sound coming from his bones, but his eyes were still focused on the fight. Why the hell would you care? I'm standing while you've fallen. The invincible sword glanced at the curtain of light coming from the heavens above, his mouth forming a smile. Once I'm through with you, I'll have no qualms going there, ha! Bailey Yuqian laughed, heaving the now heavy divine sword. He was ready to end his strongest opponent. Everyone watched tense, and riveted Zhuo Fan showed a weird grin. It's too soon for you to go, ha ha ha. Thunderflame Dragon Nest. Zhuo Fan plunged the demonic sword down. A surge of black energy exploded like a tide, turning the earth black as night roars upon roars came from it as it roiled like the sea. Black dragons flew into the sky, powered by the thunderflame, all aiming for Bailey Yutian and his lightning bird, drowning him in blackness. Everything now took a much bleaker and darker hue. Zhuo Fan snickered. Invincible sword, you shouldn't have focused all that control of the space on yourself. Just so, I have a domain soul, and by relinquishing control, I can use it for myself. Now you're my dragon nest. Let's see you come out now, ha ha ha. Roar. Thousands upon thousands of black dragons breathed fire on the lightning bird and chipped away at it. Bit by bit, Bailey Yutian held a cold smile. What can a mere domain do to me? Bailey Yutian shook hard, and the lightning bird cried out. Purple lightning flared, and the dragon nest suffered an explosion as it collapsed. The bright sun once again blessed this wretched battlefield and his aged face, SSS. But the invincible sword had no time to react as a figure flashed in his face. Ugh. The invincible sword was frozen, looking down to find that his lightning bird had a thin and long hole running through it, all the way to him and through him. The invincible sword looked with a stiff face at the black flames on his abdomen, while his legs were engulfed in it already, slowly eating at him. Invincible sword. A cold voice came to his ears. I told you my sword arts are for devouring. The dragon nest wasn't so it could whittle you down, but to engulf your senses. With a spirit king able to control space, I had to be on high alert all the time. Not even my domain would have escaped your range. A shame you focused it all on you and lost your advantage. So I used this chance to blindside you with an attack. Bailey Yuqian's brow shook, looking back to find Zhuo Fan's calm face as he wielded the black sword flickering with flames. The invincible sword gripped his sword, looking at the light above, feeling unreconciled. But then he gnashed his teeth and threw the sundering sword, roaring, Zhuo Fan, you win. You get to go to Devil Mountain. Take the sundering sword and reach the summit. Do not disgrace that sword. Bailey Yuqian sighed and closed his eyes, the flames burning him to ashes, feeling the purple blade trembling in his grip. Mourning for its master, Zhuo Fan sighed. The invincible sword, a worthy opponent. Pa! In a sacred domain, in a little shack, a youth sat before a chessboard, about to put a piece. His hand shook and the piece rolled among the others. It's gone. He took a deep breath. The spirit king in the mortal domain is gone. What a pity. He was about to arrive at the world they always yearned for. The shadow at his side stood. The spirit king this time was off. He should have long since come, but suppressed himself to stay for something. Might not be the same again. No, this time he's gone for good, while last time his signature was merely weakened. Someone killed him before he could come. The mortal domain had 2 spirit kings. No, someone jumped stages to do it. The man gasped. Jump stages? Any spirit king birthed in such a wasted place, like the mortal domain, is a priceless talent. Yet one was killed by someone jumping stages? This hasn't happened ever. That was because for so many years he never thought of returning. Now that he wants to, none could stop him. Ha ha. Ha! A piece slammed on the board, and the youth let out a mad laughter, chilling to the bone. Chapter 1173. I'm back. Chapter 1173. I'm back. Proofreader, Papatonks. P. Patriarch. Bailey Jingwei slumped to the ground, his feet giving in. With a look of utter despair, the rest of the Sword Star Empire's people were numb. While the Emperor fainted, the heart of the Empire, their god, the Patriarch, the invincible sword, had died. "'Tis can't be happening." Everyone shook their heads in disbelief, coming out of the illusion they built around the man. The invincible sword's ashes scattered in the wind, while the divine sword, having been his lifelong partner for thousands of years, now rested in Zhuo Fan's hand. This reality could not be denied. Bailey Jingwei closed his eyes, tears trailing down his face. The Sword Kings kneeled and slammed to the ground. Only Shangwan Feiyun just stood there, frozen. Shit, I made the wrong bet. He believed that the invincible sword would help him in his goal, only to find this always undefeated man finally meet his match. Shangwan Feiyun's heart sank in a hatred, while some wallowed in despair. Others rejoiced at a new lease of life. Bailey Yutian fell, marking the decline of the Baileys. As for the convicts, they were celebrating. The monster Bailey Yutian is gone. Zither Sword King watched the sky at the new dawn rising, welcoming it with a smile. Darkness swallows the stars, bringing about a new dawn. I never dreamed it would come true. Lu Mubai was moved to tears. The weight of the past, the hatred of his clan, had been carried for years and years with no hope of being relieved of such burden. Now it was over, making all his toil as Sword King for 1,000 years all the more worth it. Everyone was engrossed in their own raw emotions, some of joy, some of sorrows. Zhuo Fan held the sundering sword and placed it in his ring hum. The demonic sword shook in request. Zhuo Fan smiled. I know, but later. You won't be sorry. Let's return first. Ding! The demonic sword rang as he slipped into Zhuo Fan's body. Zhuo Fan smiled and descended, taking away the barriers and releasing the convicts' bonds. In an hour, they were all free. Palace Lord Wu Randong was the first to bow, filled with endless gratitude and reverence. The other Devil Palace disciples followed suit, looking at Zhuo Fan like he was the shiniest jewel. But fear remained still of disturbing this great man, never daring to meet his gaze. Ignoring their excitement, Zhuo Fan spoke to Wu Randong. All obstacles are removed now. Finish the Imperial Capital project within the month. Yes, sir. Wu Randong bowed. Ling Yuntian brought the 4 lands captives with a bow. Thank you, Sir Zhuo, for your timely rescue. We'd have perished for sure. It's fine, since I didn't come for you. It was meant for the Empire and I'd have fight. He stood in my way, and I brushed him aside. Nothing more, nothing less. It was nothing personal. Zhuo Fan shook his head. Ling Yuntian nodded. Yes, Sir Zhuo has always been walking alone, above the disputes of the lands. You never had anything against the Empire. It's only that our goals aligned, that we face the same enemy. But, Sir Zhuo, you should have told us of your plans against the Empire, and we would have worked together to make it easier. Why did you insist on having us suffer like this? You have the nerve to ask me that? You had Bailey Yutian on the ropes 100 years ago, so why did you stop? Ling Yuntian was lost for words. Zhuo Fan said, Sect Leader Ling, it's not that I don't trust you. What I don't trust is human nature. Central Area had pushed you into a corner, making me your Grand Marshal. After the Lands War, what use will my word have? The same applies now. If not for the Empire waging war with the lands, you'd have never even thought of listening to my orders. Bailey Jingwei spy aside. People only ever group up to repel outsiders, right? Ugh. Ling Yuntian gave a nervous chuckle. Then he rushed to change topics. Sir Zhuo, speaking of the spies. Curse you, Bu Xingyun. I'll have your body scattered in the wind. Ling Yuntian rushed to the spies, shouting and cursing. Looking smug like he had just earned a hard victory, Bu Xingyun's side panicked and fled, but Ling Yuntian's group caught them and started laying it on them hard, and fast. Zhuo Fan sneered. Those geezers. Big brother. Master. Luo Yunhai and his wife came with the Luo clan, all excited. Zhuo Fan smiled and cupped his hands. I ask that you forgive me for the trouble I shove it where the sun doesn't shine. A raging voice echoed as a charming figure stormed over and jabbed a finger at his chest. You rotten bastard, where have you been all these years? Not so much as sending a hello for 100 years. You were better off staying dead. You could have at least let us know you were safe. Everyone was worried sick. Zhuo Fan staggered under the assault, able to face Invincible Sword's mighty aura, yet couldn't take the pokes from a pretty lady. All he could do was shrug. Young miss, I didn't want to let you know, but I've always been busy and didn't want to involve you. I feared. So that makes it fine to blow us off? Didn't we get dragged into it anyway? Whatever comes, it'll come, regardless where you are. What doesn't won't, but you still aren't there either. What's there to fear? Luo Yunchang kept yelling and taking it up on him for all those years, only to finish in tears and catch him in a strong hug, leaning her head on his chest. Her eyes were red as she sniffed. Answer me and don't go. I told you, no matter what it is, we'll do it together. Please don't leave, all right? Zhuo Fan froze, looking down at her fair face, and shook his head as he didn't know what to do with his hands. Young miss. Hand down. Luo Yunchang had his hand placed on her waist, then lay happily on his chest, smiling and crying. Zhuo Fan scratched his nose, looking at the others who were happy staying out of it, looking for an excuse to get away. Palace Lord, I'll gather them in and start working. What's the hurry? I just rescued them. Can't they relax for a few days? Hey! Zhuo Fan saw Wu Randong run off. Zhuo Fan looked down at the young miss glued to him and sighed. Young miss, I need to look for my wife. Luo Yunchang shook, but held on still. She spoke after a pause. It's fine if you go after Miss Qing Cheng. I won't stop you. But you can't stop my feelings for you either. Young miss, you don't have to say it. Luo Yunchang stood straight and looked him in the eye with a smile. I told you, I won't stop you, and neither can you stop me. We're family. Let's go back, Steward Zhua. Your seat has always been saved for you. No matter what you do, we do it together, even finding Miss Qing Cheng. We'll always be by your side, so long as you don't throw us away. The Luo clan nodded. Showing their sincerity, Zhuo Fan felt warm at their intention and sighed a nod. If you so wish. The Luo clan's head steward has returned. They all cheered and jumped in joy. But seeing them like this, Zhuo Fan might be smiling, but his eyes showed sadness, meeting only to part. Our days together will be short. The path of ascension is almost done. Stop, don't touch him. If you have something with him, take it up with me. A shout drew Zhuo Fan's attention. He frowned and looked over with a start. Nodding, he walked over. Chapter 1174, To the Winner the Spoils. Chapter 1174, To the Winner the Spoils. Proofreader, Papatonks. Bam! A convict kicked a brawny man to the ground, mocking, ha ha ha, so this is what the mighty Sword King has come to, ha. Stop. We surrendered. What are you trying to do? Bali Yu glared at them. Gnashing her teeth, the youth sneered, giving her a most unbecoming leer. What, you ask? Weren't the Sword Kings always acting so high and mighty? With the invincible sword dead, any kind of lashing out won't do you any good. Surrendering is your only hope at living. So play along, or else. Or else what? A steel grip had twisted his wrist. The man whipped his head with a scowl, only to pale hard. Marshal Zhua, we've got all the prisoners sorted out for you to handle. Bali Yu shook, observing the man she had been daydreaming about day and night for the past century, and her heart raced. Zhuo Fan sneered. You actually know they're my prisoners? Others who didn't might think it was you who got them. You must be so amazing taking down the Central Area's Sword Kings. I'd never. Marshal, you're our Grand Marshal of the Four Lands, just as it was 100 years ago. We're doing it all for you. Humph, what a pretentious excuse. You never did anything for me 100 years ago, and now that I got the Central Area, you want to step in? Zhuo Fan flung the man into the air, vanishing in the distance. I'm fine without it. The rest acted oblivious, lowering their heads and clearing the area, ignoring the profiteers. Zhuo Fan turned to Bali Yu, who never took her eyes off him. He snapped his fingers, and her bounds came undone. I saw how you never got a wound on you when you fought Xiaoer. How did those ants even catch you? I sealed my own cultivation. You did. Yes, you've won and we lost. Those bastards used Brother Lei to threaten me. So what could I do? Or did you expect me to be as fearless as the patriarch and have you cut me down? Bali Yu glared. Zhuo Fan shook his head. My fight with him has been in the works for a century, an honorable duel bearing no grudge from either party. Along the way, I took the Empire for my own purposes, still nothing personal. Now that the Empire is mine, I want nothing else. You're free to go. Free? Bali Yu started. You're letting us go free? What if we'll take revenge? Zhuo Fan chuckled. Can you really, with just that much strength? Don't make me laugh. Not now. But who's to say later? Neither later. Zhuo Fan cut her off. Since I overcame all of you, I hold no fear for the future. If by some miracle you do succeed, that proves I've been idle and deserve to die. A real man isn't afraid of any challenge. Moreover, I'm a challenger myself. Challenging myself for my own goals is all the more reason I can't let others catch up to me. Or I wouldn't have needed him to step in and would have died at your hands instead. Bali Yuyu's eyes grew hazy. You're just like Patriarch, no stronger. Patriarch always yearned for the top, but feared being overtaken. You don't have such fear, and that's why you won. You flatter me. What I fear is something you can never reach. Zhuo Fan waved, walking away. Take them and go. We've had a nice run once, and this is my thanks for it. Bali Yu gave him a long look, then pointed at the others to remove their binds. A sudden roar then shook the heavens as someone shot for Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan. What now? Whoosh. Zhuo Fan clutched the neck of the attacker. Bailey Jingtian, revenge for the invincible sword. Is that it? I told you that none of you have it in you. But since you challenged me, I'll answer with the same coin. Zhuo Fan gripped harder, cutting his breath. I'm a man of principles and can overlook the boiling hatred you all nurture, but the moment you try anything, you have to own up to your actions. Wait! Bailey Yulei shouted and rushed over, pleading, Sir Zhuo, please let the crown prince go. If you must kill him, take me instead. Zhuo Fan squinted. Bailey Yulei, we were on better terms 100 years ago. Though it was to help another, and thus you helped me, I still consider it a favor. But what is your deal with the crown prince, to go so far? It's about that time 100 years ago as well. He knows I'd let you go, yet never revealed it. Holding his word for 100 years, he earned my friendship. Didn't you stop to think that maybe he had his reasons? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Your Highness, you're no saint, I see, knowing to use gratitude to your own means. Bailey Jingtian said, as the crown prince, I've learned how to rule. Gratitude has nothing to do with it, just business. But yes, when you had your black flames on me, Thundersword King did save my life. He did right by cutting my arm off. I had the same thought, but couldn't do it because that would mean everything would be over, my throne would no longer be mine. Have you ever heard of a cripple sitting on the throne in humanity's long history? So Thundersword King had solved my crisis in my life, but later I helped them hide their connection with you, not really thinking over the implications. But without an arm, I was fated to be alone, so why then insist on making an enemy out of the Sword King? It's all to protect myself due to what happened, and I had to keep it to myself. See? He had it all figured out and didn't do it for you. I bet you looked after him these years, so you should be square. Zhuo Fan snickered. Bailey Yulei's brow shook, yet his voice was firm. Regardless, I still feel friendship for him keeping it a secret for so long and ask that you stay your hand. Sure, since you felt friendship for him, I felt the same for you. But only this once. At least wait until you have the strength before coming at me. Zhuo Fan smirked and let go, walking off. A month later, I'll be leaving this world to where your patriarch yearned to go. Anyone is welcome to come since I lack manpower. Bailey Jingtian squinted. What's his angle? Trying to get us on his side after killing the patriarch? As if. It's hard to tell. With her heart already made up, Bali Yu muttered, the patriarch and Zhuo Fan fought an honorable battle with their lives on the line. When the patriarch died, he held no hatred. Among cultivators, what grudges could there be among challengers? Your Highness, you'll never grow strong without at least this much aspiration. Look at yourself. After 100 years, you couldn't even defeat the likes of Yi Lin and Ouyang Chongqing, the same ones you once beat. A missing arm shouldn't have affected your strength as much. Think back at what you've been doing this past century. The only thing that came to Bailey Jingtian's mind was hate. He hated Zhuo Fan for taking his arm, losing his status, and everyone for mocking his deficiency. The hatred had taken over his mind to such extent he almost let the sundering sword art waste away. Bailey Jing Tian sighed long and hard. Closing his eyes, the first step to become stronger and defeat the man he hated all his life was to let go of the hate and set his eyes on the top Baliyu glanced over and showed a sneaky smile. Let us all go, then, to the world of the strong that the patriarch wanted to see. At the very least, we'll ease his spirit, right? Ha ha ha. You just want to be at the kid's side. Bailey Yulei snapped his eyes on her, shaking his head. In another part, following the ruckus, Bailey Jingshi and Bailey Jingwei were shoved and sworn at. Bu Xingyun and the other spies were beaten black, and blue. Luo Yunhai's brow shook. They're still the prime minister and emperor. Even as captives, why must they be scorned so? The winner gets the spoils, and they lost. Zhuo Fan walked by. But aren't I supposed to be the winner here? These people from the Four Lands were mere captives, and now they think of themselves as the bosses? Luo Yunhai pleaded, Big Brother Zhuo, Bailey Jingwei is vile, but never trounced our dignity. I hope you will let us handle him. Yeah, I always pay back with the same coin. I may kill him, but never shame him. Zhuo Fan nodded. You're the clan head, so do what you will. Luo Yunhai perked up and rushed into the fray. Zhuo Fan shook his head. See, this was my last lesson to you on good and evil, righteous and demonic. Now who here is right and who is wrong? Miss Morone. Chapter 1175, Gathering of Royalties. Chapter 1175, Gathering of Royalties. Proofreader, Papatonks. Humph, so this is the loftiest emperor and greatest prime minister in the whole wide world. You got cocky, you showed off. Now look where that got you, beneath my boot. Hi. You finally got yours. Now, it's our turn to toy with all these big shots. Ha ha ha. Bang. Bailey Jingwei's group gnashed their teeth without a word, taking all the abuse they threw at them, be it physical or emotional. The abusers grew wilder, stopping only when Luo Yunhai came over to break them up. But even so, they left with a wide and scornful smile, like some prized underdog. Morong Shui shook her head, disappointed. These dignified people cast away their people, shirking all duty in face of disaster. Yet they now prance around high and mighty as they take it out on the defeated enemy. Even Bailey Jingwei, the greatest mastermind, and our enemy wouldn't fall so low. Zhuo Fan smiled as he left with a dark glint in his eye. Good and evil begin from thoughts. In this world, who could reign in his wild nature? Ha ha ha. The imperial capital fell. Aside from Shangwan Fiyun and the spies, taken away by the other land's leaders, the rest of the captives were handed to the Luo clan to be dealt with. The news spread like wildfire throughout the empire, crushing the morale of all the forces still trying to fend off the invading Three Lands armies. The empire fell, and the central area fell as well. This became the new reality. The Eastern Lands Rebellion soon won as well. With the Shangwan clan reinstated as its ruler, the Five Lands regained peace, the Dharma kings returning to their old jobs, handling their lands. Zhuo Fan put everything aside, going with the Luo clan to rest with the others. Luo Sifan and the other two kids were torn from worry. They welcomed her parents back with utter joy, while the oldies from the Luo alliance noticed the first great steward returned as well. Everyone gave him a deep bow of respect. The kids became aware that Steward Zhuo was a monumental existence to the alliance. Also, he wasn't blind. It left them baffled. Zhuo Fan caught up with his old friends, offering a different kind of comfort. 3 days passed, and Zhuge Changfeng was with Zhuo Fan in the Luo clan's backyard, enjoying idle talk and playing chess. Luo Sifan was engrossed, seeing the pieces fly across the board, glancing at Zhuge Changfeng and seeing him frown hard. She raised her hand to propose, Grandpa Zhuge here. Ha, young miss, if I place it there, then I'll burn my own foot, with Steward Zhuo not even needing to land the killing blow. Zhuge Changfeng rubbed his beard, chuckling and cupping his hand. Steward Zhuo's chess skills have grown sharper. I admit complete defeat. Luo Sifan pouted. Grandpa Zhuge, you lost 10 rounds already, but weren't said to be the best at chess in the Western Lands? Why? That's when Steward Zhuo wasn't around. Since I lost to Steward Zhuo once 100 years ago. Huh. Zhuge Changfeng laughed. Zhuo Fan smiled. Prime Minister Zhuge, You're still holding on to that grudge? Ha ha ha. Big brother, Master. Luo Yinhai and his wife came over, bowing to him. Zhuge Changfeng and Luo Sifan rose up and greeted them. Clan head, madam. Mom, dad. Yinhai, you're the clan head? I should be the one to visit you. What are you doing here so early in the morning? Zhuo Fan gathered the pieces on the board while talking casually. Luo Yinhai chuckled. Big brother Zhuo, you jest. I'd never try getting you to visit me. I heard you are back, and many of our old friends from the Western lands are here to see you. Even the exalted double dragons. Luo Sifan jumped. The exalted have hardly gone around the land, and even I never met them. To think they'd show up at our door, that's a given. Zhuge Changfeng smiled. Steward Zhuo defeated the invincible sword, the best in the world. He is now in the Luo clan, and it bolsters the Luo alliance's fame and value. They say the Luo clan has replaced the Bailey as the best clan in the world. The exalted have to show respect and can no longer stay haughty like before. Luo Sifan oohed, looking at Zhuo Fan like a prize pony. Uncle Zhuo is so grand. Zhuo Fan stood and walked. Since we're friendly, let's meet them. I won't get the chance again. Wait. Zhuo Fan turned back at the sharp shout. Shuang, it's been a while. I've been in the Luo clan for days, yet never saw you around. Where have you been? Ha ha ha. Holy maiden. Zhuo Fan chuckled in good humor. He was still feeling odd, since Shuang should have known he was with the Luo clan, yet never came to see him. Luo Yunhai's group smiled. Yin Shuang smiled back and took Zhuo Fan's arm. Come with me. Why? My patriarch wants to see you. Your patriarch? Zhuo Fan asked curiously. Shuang's eyes glimmered. Yes, my Yin clan patriarch, Sovereign Yin, one of the 10 ancient sovereigns, wants to see the demonic emperor Zhui Yifan. Zhuo Fan's heart tensed, looking grave. The missing Sovereign Yin was in the mortal domain. 10 days later, in a thick forest, a man and a woman dashed through the woods to land among some ruins. Every rock was covered in vines or hidden by the wildlife. This is the Yun clan's ancestral home. Zhuo Fan asked. Yun Shuang nodded. The Yun clan left this place ages ago, and it came into ruin, making it look bleak. If not for the last 5 lands were growing to such a scale, I might have never come back here to seek my patriarch's blessing. I then stayed here under his guidance to cultivate. Yin Shuang made a sign, and the random rocks scattered about rippled, and the air shimmered in front. Let's go. Giving Zhuo Fan a smile, she pulled his hand as she took the lead to enter the shimmering air. The two ended up in a dark cave and found themselves unable to control their bodies. Floating in space, the only presence, there are the endless stars casting a mystical glow boom. The image of a 300-meter-tall old man whooshed in their sight, releasing a white aura and shedding light in this dark space. Welcome to my star space, demonic emperor Zhui Yifan. Why, you're Sovereign Yin? Zhuo Fan's heart shook, finding meeting a sovereign still shocking. He bowed and offered his respect. Greetings, senior. Yin Shuang bowed as well. Greetings, patriarch. There's no need for that. I am but a trace. Sovereign Yin looked stern. Demonic Emperor Zhui Yifan. Do you know why I asked for you? Zhuo Fan never looked up, bowing still. I do not. Please enlighten me, senior. Because you lost something. Without it, you will die. Sovereign Yin was grave as he shouted. Boy, your death isn't important, but it will involve the fate of every living thing, bringing misery to us all. You have to get it back, understand? Zhuo Fan pondered and said, Senior, what am I looking for? You know fully well what. Sovereign Yin shouted. You were operating outside of fate, and I could not see your destiny, but I could still see your past. But all these years, I have been blind to you. Do you know why? It's because you had something on you that helped you in all your cunning endeavors. Do you know what that is? Zhuo Fan guessed. Is it that? What Senior is referring to? Only you know what you're to find. I'm only giving you a reminder. Sovereign Yin was being cryptic as his hand shone white and revealed a black sphere, throwing it to Zhuo Fan. This is a 6th grade sacred weapon I made with all my power, World Bridge. No place is out of its reach. As long as you think of somewhere, it will take you there. helping you find what or who you want. It will also guide you toward what you're looking for. Chapter 1176, Opened Ascension Path. Chapter 1176, Opened Ascension Path. Proofreader, Papatonks. Taking a closer look at the black sphere, he noticed energy swirling within, like the primordial energy that made the world, followed by endless stars surrounding it. His mind felt like he was in a vast and endless world, aware of his insignificance in the face of such a universe. An ant squashed by forces unseen, he was jolted to his senses the next moment, sweat trickling down his brow. His heart was filled with fear and unease. His pride and arrogance as a human was squashed then, and the Yin Shuang said, "Big brother Zhua, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Easing a breath, Zhua Fan stared at the black ball. "Senior Sovereign Yin, how do I use your treasure?" The sovereign smirked. "Figure out yourself. No matter who or what you're looking for, this world bridge will help you." "That's all I had to say, boy. You can go." Sovereign Yin flicked his hand, and an astral wind sent Zhua Fan flying. Yin Shuang started, "Big brother Shuang." Sovereign Yin shouted, as did Yin Shuang. She turned back and said, "Patriarch, I'm about to fade away." Sovereign Yin turned transparent, yet he smiled. Since ancient times, this trace remained because of Worldbridge's help. All I've been doing was waiting for a man to appear to give it to him. Now that time has come, and I shall vanish. The rest is up to him. Don't let it all go to waste. The voice faded as well. In this dark place with a boom, everything collapsed, turning into fading glimmers. The sun shone within, revealing just an ordinary cave. "Patriarch," Schwanger lamented, bowing at the deep cave before leaving with a start. Zhua Fan plopped on the ground, thrown among rocks and kicking up dust. Finally straightening himself, he said, "I was clearly in the mountain, and now I'm at its foot." The senior sure doesn't see his guests out. Talk about rude. Big brother Schwanger came over and saw him covered in dust. "Are you all right?" Patriarch's dismissal can be a bit harsh. Zhua Fan patted the dust off his clothes. "It's fine. But are all sovereigns like that? Do all of them have weird hobbies?" Schwanger giggled. "Big brother Zhua is going back to Sacred Domain. Can you take me along?" "Why? You need help, and I can lend a hand." "Oh, that." Zhua Fan hesitated, put on the spot. "Peak Genesis stage isn't bad, but I know you're bad at fighting. Sacred Domain is too." Schwanger was firm in this. "Don't underestimate me." Schwanger's eyes shone an eerie blue, and an astonishing power came out. With rumbling combing from everywhere, the entire mountain range crumbled on the spot. But it wasn't due to the shaking, it was because it was flattened. Zhua Fan felt heavy as well and sank into the earth. Everything in 100 miles sank 300 meters. Schwanger stopped and looked in pride. "Well, big brother Zhua, that's a third of what I can do. I refrained from flattening 1,000 miles around since there are people living here. And that's not even my special skill. You're practically a different person after receiving Sovereign Yun's guidance." Zhua Fan's face twitched. "But why didn't your patriarch train disciples to protect your clan?" Schwanger shrugged. "Patriarch cared for the world. He only waited here for you to give you something. He doesn't care what befell the clan or how it fares. He only taught me because he sensed your aura 100 years ago and wanted me to help you." "I see. But why would he help me? Is it because of the sovereign path?" Zhua Fan frowned, looking at the black ball in his hand, and then patted Schwanger's shoulder. "We'll meet in Sword Star Empire's capital in 20 days. Don't be late, and don't tell the Luo clan. You're not taking them. What's the point of being in so much danger?" Zhua Fan sighed. "They are kings in a mortal domain and have a stable position. They should enjoy retirement. By going to Sacred Domain instead, they will have to start over, facing danger upon danger. In short, there are many horrible men there, and even more hidden experts unaccounted for. I even feel scared. Taking them along will make it hard to protect them." Schwanger nodded, and sighed. The two returned to the Luo clan and stayed for a few days, meeting old friends from Western lands before leaving for the Empire's capital. At that time, A dozen days passed already, with most of the people Zhuofan gathered already. Their Gu Santong and Xiaoer were obvious, with Yi Lin and other Dharma kings, Bali Yuyu, Bailey Yulei, and Bailey Jingtian present as well. Even Morong Shui was going. Miss Morong, you're coming along? Zhuofan asked. Morong Shui nodded. My sight has broadened, and I wish to see the upper world if you don't mind. I don't. Not since you're your brother's problem now. If he doesn't mind, why should I? Ha ha ha. Zhuofan came before the Thunder Pavilion. There was not a trance of lightning as before, turned into an average place. That was because a month back, Zhuofan threw a casual seal over it when he was here glancing at the bowing Wu Randong nearby. Zhuofan said, after we leave, you are to watch over the mortal domain. At my signal, activate the second array, got it? Krista Clurl, Palace Lord, the Empire is gone and my hatred is quelled. I only wish to fulfill the Palace Lord's orders. Wu Randong bowed. Sternly Zhuofan nodded and made a sign. The space around them rippled. Worlds Arts Combine, seas of spiritual clarity, aid me in activating the array. Open the path to heaven and guide me on my journey. Boom! Every land began shaking. The sky filled with the cries of the frightened. The tunnels dug throughout the lands and packed with sacred stones intertwined as they activated and linked the 5 lands into one gargantuan array whoosh. A white pillar shot into the sky from the former beast-taming sect. Violent and volatile power gushed from it, racing through and into the array dug underground, all the way to the imperial capital Russell. More pillars of light shot out, from Ultimate Clarity Sect, North Sea, the former Flying Cloud Manor, and more. It was like they connected heaven with the earth, unleashing tremendous power. The people near these locations blanked out on the spot. Even Genesis experts could barely breathe from the pressure. They could barely crawl on the ground. Horrified at the development, 7 pillars in all, scattered throughout the 5 lands, rose into the air. The thick spiritual energy from the sacred domain came pouring in from the whirlwind tunnels, fueling the huge array, and coming to the imperial capital. Dragon Ancestor roared in joy. Ha ha! At long last, the time of our freedom has come. Ha! Finally completed. The kid is about to return. Ha ha ha! Safe travels, old friend. In the All-Beast mountain range, vaulting Kunpung felt the spiritual energy around changing and saw the 7 pillars of light with a wide smile. It all went according to plan, a plan in the making for eons. Ha! Whoosh! All that power focused in one area. Zhuofan's eyes shone and made another sign as he pointed. All paths converge. Ascension path. Open. Boom! With one last strong worldwide shake, the Thunder Pavilion let out its own white pillar into the sky. Boom! The heavens above then manifested a dazzling light, the same one that was calling the Spirit King Bailey Yutian. The path to the sacred domain was finally open. Chapter 1177. Forward Together. Chapter 1177. Forward Together. Proofreader, Papatonks. Drip. The earth shook and water dripped inside a dark prison. A weary middle-aged man sat on a filthy bed, bleak and forlorn crack. Noise came from just outside, with a man bowing. Greetings, your majesty. Open the cell. Yes. A man in royal garb stepped in, looking at the prisoner in ruined clothes. Imperial brother, did you hear? That's the sound of old friends leaving. But even as the ruler of a nation, I still had no suitable parting gift. Who is leaving? The prisoner looked up, staring at Tianyu's emperor. Yuan Song sighed. My sworn brothers, of course, Zhuofan and the Luo clan. They're going to bigger world and reaching new heights we could never even dream of. I can only stay here and wish them safe travels. Ha ha! For your majesty to come see a traitor in person, is it just to show off? Yuan Yong mocked. I sided with the Sword Star Empire, the greatest power, only for Zhuofan to later destroy it. Now you have caught me and must be mighty pleased. Now, there's no chance of me fighting back. I am at your whim, to kill, to maim. Yuan Tsong looked saddened. Second brother, to be honest, I'd have truly removed you if this happened 100 years ago. But now everything changed. I felt my power waning with the Luo alliance hanging overhead. I've been depressed and forlorn. But then Luo Yunhai returned to me my full authority. I thought I'd be happy, but all I found within me was an endless void. Void, yes. Yuan Tsung sighed. What's so great about imperial power when all is so futile? For this power, I killed my elder brother, harmed my father, and then became a puppet just so that someone would throw me back out like trash. The moment the power returned to me, I cried. What the hell is this? Kings and officials, fathers and sons, tear at each other, and for what? So that one man can stand alone in the cold, harsh emptiness? Yuan Tsung teared up, leaving Yuan Yong in shock. Yes, just what is authority to make me, the foolish and chubby third brother, so ruthless to kill our father and first brother, then hunt you down as well? Second brother, I am confessing here, but you shouldn't pin everything on me either. It was in fact the crown prince who killed our father then. I only joined later and killed the crown prince on the charge of patricide. The crown prince killed our imperial father? Don't spout nonsense. Why did I hear then that you killed them, teaming up with the Luo clan to take power? That's the truth. You're my prisoner, so why would I bother making everything up? Yuan Tsung sighed. Imperial father drew outsiders to fight the Luo clan and set the stage for the crown prince's death. Also, he could leave the lands to me. In the end, the crown prince struck first. The Luo clan had shockingly won, and with them in the shadows, I became their puppet emperor. If it weren't for the Luo clan, it still would have been me who inherited it. For imperial father never planned on giving power to the crown prince. Yuan Yong's face shook. How can that be? I thought you killed them, and I've always sought revenge. When the imperial members vie for power, who doesn't seek revenge? Yuan Tsung sighed. Everyone went insane, trying to call everyone outside of their control. Be it our imperial father or the crown prince who won, neither would have let you, the imprisoned second brother, free. I as well was a threat to the throne and removed. Yuan Yong squinted in a daze. Then he slumped powerlessly. What have I been doing this last century then? Helping those trying to kill me for revenge? Ha ha ha. Guard, release Yuan Yong. Yuan Tsung shouted, and a soldier obeyed. Yuan Tsung gave him a long look, then smiled. I had a drink with Zhuofan a few days ago and realized a problem. He never cared for power, but winning against the world. We fought hard and bitterly, but won the rights to a life of solitude. Second brother, the other lands condemned their traitors, with Shangwan Feiyun, Buxingyun, and the others having a sordid end. You're still my second brother, my only remaining brother. Zhuofan had been a true friend to give you to me, and none other cared much either. Now, Yuan clan has another member left alive. Yuan Yong could finally move and doubted. Aren't you afraid I'll come back to fight you? Fight me? I'm but the lord of a third-rate empire, while you climb to be a valued minister in the Sword Star Empire? Why would you come after me? Yuan Tsung mocked, turning to leave. Zhuofan left, Luo clan left, all old friends left. I have no brothers, and I'm going to live a life of solitude. And with your crimes, even if I succeed the throne to you, would the Double Dragon Manor agree? If you can take down the Double Dragon Manor, why come for my throne then? Funny, isn't it? Ha ha ha. Yuan Yong's eye twitched as he watched the Emperor leave. Nothing mattered in the end. It's all nothing but pure bias. Why even fight anymore? Ha ha. Yuan Yong walked out with a hunched back, feeling like centuries caught up with him. Meanwhile, Zhuofan finished the signs and regarded the light pillar. He turned to the others. This is the path to the upper world. Follow me. Once we arrive, you have to listen to all I say, lest you get on someone's bad side and never see the light of day again. Yes, everyone shouted. Yilin took the first step to Zhuofan. Big brother, isn't a recoil array to break open the mortal domain? Why did it change into a path of ascension? What about Master and others? They'll wait for a bit. Zhuofan squinted. Yilin, do you have that much trust in those old bones' words? Air. All we got from what happened is from their mouths. Who can prove it's real? Zhuofan's eyes shone, emphasizing every word. You saw every aspect of humanity in the Five Lands War and can tell. Central Area defeating the Four Lands did not mean their destruction. For lands, defeating the Empire didn't mean Central Area's fortune. Each power fights for itself. There's no morality involved, no good, no evil. By letting those old monsters go, can you guarantee it won't blow up in our faces? Ugh. Yilin frowned in hesitation. Zhuo had a grave look, putting a hand on his shoulder. We'll go first to see the situation in the sacred domain. If it's like those guys said, I'll give Wu Randong the signal and he'll activate the recoiling array to free them. But if it's a lie, painting themselves as victims for their sake and that of world peace, they'll be locked up for the rest of their lives. Don't give me that and move on. Zhuo pushed and threw Yilin into the pillar. Gone before he could scream, Zhuo turned to the rest, beaming. Who's next? Me. A roar of anger came as a girl flashed in his view. Zhuo started. Why, young miss, what? You foul cretin, you're taking off again and leaving us behind. And no, it's just that there isn't suited for you. Big brother Zhuo, no matter what you say, we agree to stay together. You have no right to slip away. Luo Yunhai smiled. Look, I brought the whole clan to fight alongside you. Li Jingtian's venerables appeared. Li Jingtian and the power couple, as well as thousands of Genesis stage veteran soldiers. Even Luo Sifan and the brats came. Zhuo shook his head. Aren't you afraid of leaving the Luo Alliance's core empty? No, out with the old and in with the new. Luo Yunhai waved. We built the Luo Alliance here, then we can do it again there. Big brother Zhuo, I'm still young and have ambition. I fear nothing. Let us do this together. Yes, Steward Zhuo, let us follow you. The others shouted their agreements. Zhuo sighed, yet he felt gratified inside. Just as he was about to speak, someone pushed him into the pillar. No more talking. Let's all go. Someone held Zhuo and dragged him inside the pillar with a sweet smile. Chapter 1178, Lightning Tribulation. Chapter 1178, Lightning Tribulation. Proofreader, Papatonks. Everyone vanished one after the other. Wu Randong made a sign when he was alone, and the gaudy pillar of light faded away. The other 7 pillars in the 5 lands followed suit. Wu Randong smirked, looking at the sky. Take care, Palace Lord. Until next time, brother. Wu Qingxiu and the others watched them go from a distance with cupped hands. I really want to go as well and see the wider world outside, but you had sect matters to attend to. I also have my clan to consider as well. Shangguan Qingyan shrugged. What's more, we have to watch over the Grand Array. He took a century to set up and receive him at any time. He gave us harsh warnings about this. It may very well be related to his survival. Wu Qingxiu nodded and smiled. Yes, he has a lot of trust in us, with his life even, to give us such a task, to cooperate with Devil Palace in guarding the Grand Array. We are not about to let him down. Ha ha ha. The others smiled broadly, while they watched Zhuo go, filled with respect and trust. In ultimate clarity sect, the dragon ancestor blinked at the sudden disappearance of the light pillars. What the hell? The mortal domain isn't open yet, so why did it stop? Then it hit him, and he raged. Rotten cretin, you have the nerve to throw us away? Just you wait. You're going to pay for this. We'll wreck you so hard you'll come back crying, begging us for help. Curses. He left for good this time. In the North Sea, heaven-sealing CAO peeked his head out of the water, sensing the world settling, shaking his head in boredom. Boy, take care. Who knows when you'll be back? The huge head dipped back under the water. Being around Zhuo for 100 years made him recall those ancient times he interacted with humans, filled with warmth and joy. Now he was back to being alone. Whoosh! The mortal domain's people each had their thoughts regarding Zhuo leaving. But in the sacred domain, in a scorched area, a beam of light appeared, and people walked out of it. The thick spiritual energy slammed into their face, flooding their every fiber and making their yuan qi run wild. Without even focusing on cultivating, they all were left speechless. Is this the world the patriarch wanted to see? It's incredible. The degree of spiritual energy here is scary, no different from a sacred stone mine. No, 10 times denser. With the sacred stone mines sealed off, the amount mined was very little for everyone to enjoy, but here and now, this was a cultivator's paradise. Everyone was overjoyed, with Baliyu giggling. "Joie fan, is this Devil Mound Dash, Her joy was short-lived as she turned to him. "Young miss, we've arrived. Can you let go?" Joie fan sighed. Laying on the scorched earth with Luo Yunchong clutching to him for her dear life, Luo Yunchong smirked, happy to hold him with closed eyes. "No, or you'll just be running off again. This place is foreign to me. I couldn't find you in the 5 lands, and this would go double here. So you better stay put, for I'm not letting you go. Get off already." A dainty hand grabbed her collar and yanked her off. "Joie fan, Bailey, you looked mighty jealous. Have you no shame, woman? Throwing yourself at a man in broad daylight? He's my steward. Why do you care who I throw myself to? If you hate it so much, will engaging in such activity at night be to your liking? Damn you, that's enough." Bali Yu was fuming mad, but Joie fan interfered. He brushed off the dust and stood up with a stern look. "We have arrived, and I have to give you fair warning not to wander about and draw trouble. We can't take any of it, understand?" All were just as grave as him. Joie fan continued. "First off, this place is called the Sacred Domain. Compared to mortal domain, everything is a few stages higher, with treasures at every step, making this place teeming with experts. I'm sure you've already felt the outrageous spiritual energy density, making it easy to cultivate. While in the mortal domain, a supreme genius of 12 achieving bone-tempering stage can be praiseworthy, and reaching the profound heaven stage would be monstrous. Here, however, radiant stage kids are running all over the place, with more talented being in ethereal stage and the true monsters of the Genesis stage. Especially you 3 brats, listen up. Your parents might have let you come to set up shop in this great place, but this is no paradise. It is hell. Walking about as you are, any other 16-year-old will wipe the floor with you. So be careful, for those days of lording over with status and power are over. SSS. Everyone gasped in shock. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. In the mortal domain, we were at the peak, but here we're at the bottom, no different than common people. Joie fan spoke coldly. So in the sacred domain, if you want to hold any kind of power, you need to be a spirit king at the very least. Anything in the mortal stages are ants. That's why none of us have a right to show off, and must keep our noses down. Everyone grew heavy, feeling apprehension. They were among the top in a mortal domain, and now they ended up scraping the barrel. Joie fan smirked. But there's no need to be discouraged. You're at the bottom because the mortal domain's conditions were too poor. Based on talent alone, you're sacred domain monsters as well, especially the Sword Kings. Reaching Spirit King stage should be easy, taking only time. So all we need to do is endure for a while, and then we can leave our mark on sacred domain. Truly, everyone's eyes glimmered. They were all men who enjoyed status. Even though they sank to rock bottom, they now had faith they could make a comeback. What of Devil Mountain? Is it the same as Sacred Domain? Bali Yu asked, getting the attention of everyone, right? He always says he came from Devil Mountain, so why are we in Sacred Domain? Joie fan's eyes shone, giving a sinister smirk. Of course it isn't. Devil Mountain is but a part of Sacred Domain. Don't be quick to think Devil Mountain is friendly either. From now on, Devil Mountain is in fact our greatest opponent. Everyone shuddered. It's not a sect? Why? Rumble. Thunderclaps sounded from the heavens as lightning snaked about the black clouds. Flinching, the people panicked. But then their powers started boiling like. Breaking through, they all cried out. Joie fan exclaimed. Yes, mortal domain was not just barren of spiritual energy, but also being suppressed. Coming to sacred domain is like overcoming all adversity, and thus our cultivation will soar. Especially as Sword Kings, who have been kept at the peak for too long. He'll be rushing to advance, without a moment to lose. Damn it. Why is it so bad? Isn't advancing a good thing? What do any of you know? Joie fan frowned hard, looking at the roiling thunderclouds. Other stage increases aside, Reaching Spirit King stage means you're shedding the mortal coil, being remade. That means a lightning tribulation will fall on you to rebuild your meridians and purify Yuan Qi. One breaking through is fine, but the issue here is that there are so many at peak Genesis stage. With all calling forth lightning, the power will multiply. The issue isn't you withstanding it, but Yun Hai and the rest suffering as a result. Chapter 1179, Scarlet Lightning Valley. Chapter 1179, Scarlet Lightning Valley. Proofreader, Papatonks. Everyone got restless at his words, with Murong Lai saying, "All Genesis stage cultivators with me. We'll draw away the lightning tribulation." Too late. Glancing at the thundering clouds above, lightning struck nearby, leaving behind a black crater 50 miles wide. Zhuo Fan squinted and shook. Black energy came out of him, covering Luo Yunhai and thousands of others below Genesis stage. "I'll protect them with my domain while you get some distance and take on your tribulation." Murong Lai and the rest shot away. But another boom sounded as lightning slammed overhead and cut off their flight, but recalling the many innocent lives behind, they kept forcing themselves to fly boom. Lightning snaked and struck down on them. Zhuo Fan held the fort, ignoring the lightning striking him as well. He worked his energy to keep the others safe. At the same time, black energy was released around, absorbing the lightning's power to increase his own cultivation. His meridians and Yuan Qi were being refined with every strike. He was only in the 7th layer of Genesis stage. But ever since he arrived here and felt the thick spiritual energy, his cultivation grew as well. While he was defending the Luo clan and the rest, he was also taking in the heavens' power, strengthening himself several times with a muffled sound. He reached the 8th layer. Zhuo Fan grinned. Boom! Another lightning came down on his head, and he shook all over. His demon transformation art was revved up to the max, working to remove the lightning's power, but still a fraction got loose within him, roaming through his veins and making his body spasm. Blood spilled from his mouth. He chose to contain it and endure. He could, in fact, use more of his focus to absorb the violent lightning, but then who'd defend the little guys? He could only bear it in silence. Boom. The deadly lightning struck again and again, thick as a bucket or thin as a plate, crashing down like a mountain. 81 times Zhuo Fan bore through it, and while his body smoked now, he was still fine. His meridians at least had strengthened, and his cultivation reached the 9th layer. Haha, looks like I'm close to Spirit King as well. Zhuo Fan looked at the scattering black clouds and sighed. Never mind, taking 81 lightning strikes almost burned through all my body. Taking another round right now to advance to the Spirit King level will most likely kill me. Next time, Zhuo Fan felt his aching body, but his power surged with vigor through his limbs. Only a monster like Zhuo Fan, able to fight a Spirit King, could take something like that. Other Genesis cultivators would have breathed their last around the 30th strike, just as Zhuo Fan was about to let the others out. Booming sounded again and looked up. The deadly lightning echoed in his ears. Once more his brow jumped, his face twitching. "You don't mean it's still coming, do you?" Boom! Another explosion was his answer to that challenge, as an even thicker lightning slammed into him. The dreadful power made him tremble all over as he spurted blood. What is this? That's no lightning tribulation. No such lightning has that kind of power. Zhuo Fan peered the sky in shock, finding the thunderclouds weren't just black, but laced with crimson, soul-sucking blood lightning. This is Scarlet Lightning Valley. Looking at the burnt soil below, Zhuo Fan finally knew where he was in sacred domain. Lightning constantly struck it, and on a different level than outside this area, each lightning was devastating in might, turning a brighter red the stronger it was. Once a red lightning fell, even a saint would have to be wary. Yet a white lightning could press hard as Spirit King. That was what made this place so desolate. No one wanted to come in here just to die the next second. What's with our rotten luck? We just came to sacred domain and landed in this place. Zhuo Fan gnashed his teeth. This place wasn't up to Lightning Canyon, but it wasn't far behind either. Right, Thunder Pavilion. Zhua Fan exclaimed in realization. The 8 whirlwind tunnels in the mortal domain corresponded with sacred domain's 8 extreme locations. Thunder Pavilion was linked to this scarlet lightning valley. Since they came through the Thunder Pavilion's location, they ended up in this godforsaken place. All the constant lightning around the Thunder Pavilion was due to this place, as well. Zhua Fan held his head. This is freaking fate, I tell you. The recoiling array needed to draw spiritual energy from all around. The crucial thing is balance. Its best location was the heart of the 5 lands, which was Thunder Pavilion, which made coming from mortal domain to the sacred domain always going to be here. The Scarlet Lightning Valley couldn't be avoided. Now we just have to get the hell out of here under a shower of lightning before a scarlet one drops on us. Zhua Fan's eyes shone, and a demonic sword appeared in his palm. Shining scarlet, soaring sword art, soaring heaven. Zhua Fan slashed, and a scarlet sword wave shot at the thunderclouds rumble. White flashed just then, striking the wave. Scarlet and red collided and dissipated, but Zhua Fan's art remained, its power piercing the clouds and punching a hole through them. Zhua Fan grinned. This works. Now I just have to break down the clouds, and the scarlet lightning can't form. But he then watched as the clouds flickered with lightning and sealed back the hole like it never happened. Zhua Fan's face twitched, his hand waving the sword around as he sent attacks at the clouds. I'll just have to be faster than its recovery. Booms sounded constantly, the sword waves clashing with the lightning, yet the art's power reached the clouds many times and punched holes in it. But then the lightning grew in strength, and Zhua Fan's soaring sword art lost its advantage, until it could no longer even block it. The following lightning struck Zhua Fan and numbed his whole body while the holes in the sky were patched up as a trace of scarlet flash. Zhua Fan started. Once they start turning red, I'll have no chance. Zhua Fan's hands were sweaty. Ding! A ringing reached his ears, and Zhua Fan flinched. His thunder ring flashed purple, and the sundering sword appeared in his other hand. Oh, sundering sword, what are you up to? Zhua Fan asked Whoosh. The purple sword released a powerful lightning wave, then took Zhua Fan to face the heavens. Zhua Fan blinked, but still chose to follow the spirited sword into facing this challenge. Boom. Lightning thundered, and a huge strike came down at Zhua Fan. It even contained a trace of red. Damn it, the lightning changed. Zhua Fan panicked, wanting to block with the demonic sword, but the sundering sword moved first, slapping it out of the way and releasing a strong purple wave. It carried Zhua Fan's arm and struck hard. Boom. With a deafening explosion, the purple lightning wave blasted the incoming attack into harmless motes of light. The purple sword then shot into the thunderclouds and blew a huge hole in them, greatly weakening the charged lightning clouds, to the point the snaking lightning, glowing red, turned white. This is destruction, the power of the sundering sword art. Zhua Fan's eyes shook. I see. The soaring sword art might be tough enough to break heaven, but clouds are formless, merely pushed back and not dissipated, letting them recover fast. But with the sundering sword art, containing the power of destruction, the thunderclouds were greatly weakened. Chapter 1180. Sundering Sword's Inheritance. Chapter 1180. Sundering Sword's Inheritance. Proofreader, Papatonks. Ding! The sundering sword hummed softly, as if to confirm his words. Zhua Fan snickered. Then sundering sword, rise with me and break that lightning. Tear a hole in the sky so that I can use apocalyptic thunder flame to make sure it never recovers. Haha. Bam! The sundering sword put a stop to his mad cackle, smacking his head with a wide part of the blade, making his nose swell. What was that for? Rubbing his poor nose, Zhua Fan snapped back, irate. I wield you now. You're my sword. I'm your master. Is that how you treat me? See how I pulverize your sword spirit. The sundering sword paused, then struck again. Only this time it did on the demonic sword. Ding. Want to fight? Don't mess with me. The demonic sword was no pushover, reacting by floating in front of the sundering sword and taunting at the sundering sword just stood still. Zhua Fan said, You're saying to put all my skill aside and use just you to face the thunderclouds. Ding! The sundering sword shook again. Hey, don't just ignore me. I'm made of sterner stuff, 4 swords in fact. Yet a newbie like you tries to take my place? Why should Master use just you? Trying to replace me. Is that it? Ha! Keep dreaming, hunk of rust. In a few days you'll be a part of me. Hi, hi, hi. The demonic sword had enough of the sundering sword's arrogance and brandished its edge. Trying to pick a fight, Zhua Fan nodded. All right, I'll give you this chance. Demonic sword, return. The demonic sword stalled, looking stumped at his master's decision. Even depressed. Master, you already got a new flame and forgot your trusted psychic? I'm made of 4 blades here. Demonic sword didn't make a fuss, noticing Zhua Fan's determination. Turning into a black light and slipping in his body, Zhua Fan gripped the sundering sword, and it took him towards the sky to fight the heavens lightning struck constantly. Yet all Zhua Fan did was swing the sundering sword around, destroying the attacks. As purple glows flared on every contact, the utter destruction of the lightning had the thunderclouds growing weaker. When Zhua Fan used the soaring sword art, he only scattered the lightning power in the clouds, only delaying its growth and not stopping the source now, though. He had the means to destroy them. Boom! Zhua Fan charged into the thunderclouds with the sundering sword, with lightning coming from all around now. If I used Thunderflame Void Annihilation now, the clouds. Bam! Zhua Fan indulged in a flight of fancy, but the sudden knock to the head brought him back to reality. Zhua Fan sighed and shook his head. Fine, I get it. No other skills but you happy? But how is a lone sword supposed to remove all the thunderclouds in a 1,000-mile area? Time waits for no one, and once red starts appearing, the sundering sword was silent. For a lack of a better word, then it started moving and took Zhua Fan's hand with it. Its blade shone a deep purple glow. Zhua Fan shook all over as a figure suddenly appeared in his mind as he wielded the sundering sword. Sundering. One day, I'll take you to the top, become the focus of everyone. Ha! Bailey Yuqian cackled among the flaring lightning clouds as he hacked at the incoming attacks with pride and arrogance. Only I am worthy of such a divine sword, not those common folk. But Bailey Yuqian paused, showing fear. There will always be someone better out there. If one day someone can take you from me, it proves I'm not worthy of you, and you should have a much stronger master. He will be just like me, taking you to the top and not disgrace your sundering name of splitting the heavens. By then, I shall be dead, but you must pass on all my knowledge and insight in the way of the sword to him. If I can't take you to the top, then my path will. The sundering sword shook to console him. Ha ha ha, I'm only assuming here. Who in the world could ever defeat me? Don't worry about it. Ha ha. Bailey Yuqian wielded the divine sword with burning battle spirit. Zhua Fan finally understood the sundering sword. It passed on Bailey Yuqian's legacy. There was none out there better than Bailey Yuqian when it came to understanding the sundering sword art, not even the sword sovereign. While he had made the 5 divine swords by combining their arts with the 5 sacred beast powers, he was not the least bit aware of what changes that brought. Bailey Yuqian, however, was a man immersed in the sundering sword art all his life. Having understood the core of the sundering sword art, why else would the sundering sword inheritance have Bailey Yuqian's image and not someone else's? There had to be countless people wielding it through eons, including the sword sovereign, but only one man truly understood it. Zhua Fan's gaze steeled, slashing around based on Bailey Yuqian's example. Wind picked up, and purple lightning flared as the sword fell. The thunderclouds around shone and then faded away. From just the sword's intent, lightning exploded in all directions, and the world crumbled. Zhua Fan forgot himself in this state, his form following Bailey Yuqian's actions to perfection as he unleashed devastating and brutal sword strikes. By the time he finished the entire set of strikes, the sky was clear of thunderclouds, and the sun shone brightly on the scorched earth. For the first time ever, Zhua Fan felt a tear come loose at the display, not due to him, but induced by the sundering sword. Spirit, having their minds linked, the sword spirit might not speak, but it could send Zhuo Fan. Its deep emotions purple flickered from the sundering sword, blending with the world's spiritual energy. Zhuo Fan saw as the sword spirit scattered its own energy to return to the earth once it passed on the sundering sword art, a true sacrifice for a true friend. With the death of the invincible sword, it wanted to follow him as well. But his wish to pass on his legacy kept it here. Now, it could pass on as well without remorse. The sundering sword now became just an empty shell. Zhuo Fan reached the top. As the last purple energy faded, Zhuo Fan saw the invincible sword shout in his mind and knew it to be the sword spirit blessing him instead of its former master. Zhuo Fan smirked and nodded, like master, like sword, like master. The sundering sword spirit was as carefree and heroic as the invincible sword. Tracing the purple divine sword's blade, Zhuo Fan smiled and placed it in his ring, his eyes firm. I will reach the top, along with your sword art. Whoosh! Murong Lai and the others popped up next to Zhuo Fan. Sir Zhuo, are you all right? Yes, what about you? Zhuo Fan flicked his hand, and the domain faded, revealing strong auras. Luo Yunhai's group had broken their restraints and entered Genesis stage. While the three kids were now in ethereal stage, Zhuo Fan nodded, turning to the Sword Kings with a glint in his eye. Murong Lai's group had been kept for so long behind that now they were at peak Spirit King stage. Evenly, Jing Tian and the elders reached mid-Spirit King stage. They were all thrilled at the boundless Yuan Qi. They felt steward Zhuo. Your cultivation fell again to the 5th layer of bone tempering stage. Li Jingtian gasped. Zhuo Fan now focused on his own cultivation and cried out in astonishment. Mid-Spirit King, having met with lightning tribulation, the peak Genesis stage. Zhuo Fan, due to his sundering sword's inheritance, his heart grew, as well as making the true self art bring his cultivation down to the bone tempering stage, while his true cultivation lay at mid-Spirit King stage. Though reaching Spirit King brought lightning tribulation, Zhuo Fan had been waving sundering sword around without restraint. Thus he unknowingly cut his own tribulation down. Before he could feel it, he felt down at the realization, I missed the chance to toughen my body. But since he got a taste of the other's tribulations, his regret faded. What's the point of going through all that again when I already got a Spirit King's body the first time around? Haha. Everyone. With all safe and sound, and Zhuo Fan gaining the sundering sword's insight, a bargain to be honest, his eyes flashed. With our Spirit King's cultivation levels, we now can form a group. Sword Kings, having gotten a divine sword's insights, will be more than mere Spirit Kings. I dare say that we can now jump ahead and carve our own slice of the sacred domain. Chapter 1181. Hunter, Hunted. Chapter 1181. Hunter, Hunted. Proofreader, Papatonks. Come right up. Top spirit, ores, black crystals, and other top goods. 12th grade pills. The peddlers were shouting their wares in the market of a small town, having put them on a dazzling display for all interested parties. Making this place buzz with activity in front of the town, there was a towering guard post. With the word on it spelling Joy Town, a girl led her 12 imposing Genesis stage guards up to the entrance. She also had one thin youth right next to her. The bustling little town fell utterly silent. Everyone turned their heads at the unfamiliar faces, each pair of eyes glimmering with hidden intentions. It lasted merely moments, as they all resumed the chatter and activity like the previous unnerving pause never occurred. Luo Yunchang found it strange, giving Zhuo Fan a look, but the latter smiled as he signaled them all to enter the town. The market was just as busy as before, yet it now had a strange vibe to it. The eyes of all the people found themselves resting on the newcomers at one point or another. Luo Yunchang was unnerved, her face grave as she clutched Zhuo Fan's hand. Zhuo Fan, this town is creepy. We wouldn't be here otherwise, haha. Zhuo Fan snickered, his eyes taking in every last face around, showing the same hunting gaze as the townfolks. Zhuo Fan took Luo Yunchang and the others to a tavern and bowed. Young miss, it's getting late. Could we rest here? Luo Yunchang nodded, following his intention of going inside after him. Whence you came and where you're hailing, travelers? Will you be stopping by or resting?" A dolled-up, middle-aged woman smiled the minute they entered, asking and scanning them like a hawk. Fan said, "Have 5 of your best rooms ready. Young Miss will take one, and the rest are for us." 13. "Oh, 5 rooms." The host looked troubled. "Forgive me, but my meager establishment does not have so many empty rooms." "How many are there then?" "1. 1 isn't enough." Fan shook his head. "We can't have young Miss take it and have no one watch over her. Young Miss, let's just find another tavern." Luo Yunchang gave him a look and nodded. "We'll do as Steward Zhua says. This is the only tavern in Joytown. Going out to find more, and you'll be left sleeping with the stars overhead." A shout came. They all jumped, looking to find a middle-aged man covered in fine attire and glittering decorations. The hostess lit up and bowed. "Steward Fong." "Owner, this doesn't concern you. I'll take care of our new friends." Steward Fong smiled and sent the hostess away before he cupped his hands towards the group. "I am Fong Ding, the steward of Liao clan. How may I address you?" Zhua Fan gave a curt nod, smiling back with cupped hands. "I am Zhua Fan, Luo clan steward. Here is my young Miss Luo Yunchang and her guards. Trading brought us through this area, and we thought of resting after noticing the darkened sky." "Oh, you're a steward." Fong Ding's eyes shone with suspicion. "Brother Zhua, if I may be so bold, your cultivation is a little." Zhua Fan caught his meaning and looked crestfallen as he sighed. Not willing to talk about it, Luo Yunchang intervened. "To be honest, Steward Zhua was born with incomplete meridians, unable to compare with other fellow cultivators. But his intellect is beyond reproach. My father especially had him take over our affairs. A steward isn't a fighting role, so what's the point of a high cultivation, wouldn't you say?" "Ha ha ha." Luo Yunchang held Zhua Fan's hand, giving him a compassionate pat on the hand. "Wallaby, the pretty boy is mooching off her." Fong Ding reached an instant conclusion. A 20-something-year-old guy in the bone-tempering stage is worse than a toddler. Might as well spare him from a crippled life. No matter how sharp he is up there, there's no way to become a steward. While a steward is no fighter, he is, after all, the face of a clan. He clearly curried favor to reach his position. Humph, the kid is garbage. Fong Ding was smart enough not to speak his mind, though. "Brother Zhua, there's a master in every walk of life. Now you're a steward and tomorrow a leader." Fong Ding patted his shoulder as he laughed. "Since I find you so close, and you all have nowhere to stay, why not spend the night at the Liao Manor?" Luo Yunchang perked up, but was looking immensely gratified as she bowed. "What a great idea, but we wouldn't want to impose on your clan head. Young Miss Luo, my master is a most hospitable person. Everyone in 100 miles knows him for his generosity. My master would help any in times of need when they knock on his door, be it stranger or fellow townsman." Fong Ding smiled. "Why else would this town be called Joy Town? I'm sure you've noticed our people's cheerful nature. This place is under my master's supervision. He's sure to go wild with joy having you staying over at his place." The hostess then giggled, coming over and complaining. "Master Liao is a man of honor and integrity. He stole so many of my guests. I'm scraping a living here, ha ha ha." Fong Ding smiled. Luo Yunchang and Zhua Fan shared a look, then said with respect, "Then thank you so much, Steward Fong. Excuse us for imposing. Young Miss Luo is too kind." Fong Ding returned their gesture. Fong Ding lead them out of the tavern. The hostess' face went dark just then, showing a cruel smile as bloodlust boiled in her eyes. Fong Ding brought Zhua Fan's group minutes later to a large manor. He greeted the guards and walked in. The guards beamed and bowed. Unlike any guard from the usual lording clans, Luo Yunchang felt her hair stand on end, noticing the disdain hidden behind the facade, gripping Zhua Fan's hand tighter. "Young Miss Luo, please wait a moment while I fetch master." In the large hall, Fong Ding bowed as he made his escape. Zhua Fan smiled back. Looking around the place, taking a deep breath, Luo Yunchang whispered, "Zhua Fan, something definitely not right about this place." "Of course there isn't. Who in their right mind set up a town at the edge of Scarlet Lightning Valley without a good reason? From what I know, there's been a large war here once. turning it into a wasteland with no people or resources. Who would ever want to stay here? Zhuo Fan's eyes shone, looking at the manor with a smirk. The ones coming here can only be those with checkered past no one wants. They only know how to live by harming others, through means no one would speak of in the open. Not even demonic cultivators dare to step in here. For all they know, that bright and cheerful smile could be hiding a bloodthirsty monster. Luo Yunchang shuddered. What the hell are we doing here, then? Let's run before. Run? We came here to scout and check their limits, so as to choose the best way to make our move. Zhuo Fan mocked. In a lawless corner like this, just how bad could it get? You want to be the hunter, but time will tell who the real prey is. Humph. Luo Yunchang nodded. Zhuo Fan, are we really going to steal another's turf? Of course. Zhuo Fan nodded. The sacred domain has long since been split up, and the borders are not about to change overnight. For outsiders like us who want to keep low, we can only do that by assuming another's place. There's nothing remotely honorable about Joy Town, but someone still knows it. That gives us the certified identity we desperately need. Chapter 1182, Liao, Clan Head. Chapter 1182, Liao, Clan Head. Proofreader, Papatonks. In a dark room, a used rocking chair creaked as it swayed at the motions of an elderly man with white hair and a dim expression. Fong Ding bowed. Clan Head, I've looked into them on the way, and they're merchants. The highest level cultivator is their clan head, a spirit king, holding a bit of sway in a small town. They have nothing else to their name. We can begin. How are the goods? The elderly man spoke in a jittery tone. Fong Ding was solemn. Clan Head, be assured they're exquisite. The young miss and the 12 guards are in Genesis stage. Only that pretty boy steward is a waste at bone-tempering stage and can be ignored. Let's take a look. The elderly man coughed and walked out with Fong Ding behind him with a light coughing. The elderly man entered the main hall. Luo Yunchang's group stood up and greeted him. The elderly man's black and blue face, like a freak's, had the women frightened, and they let out an ah. Zhuo Fan squinted, sizing him up. Is my face that scary, young miss? The old man coughed twice and smiled before taking the main seat with Fong Ding at his side. The women strained to keep a straight face as they bowed. Clan Head Liao, forgive our loss of composure. It's fine. I know better than anyone just how ghastly I look. Everyone jumps the first time. Ha ha. The old man waved off their concern, then sized them up with a glimmer in his eyes. Luo Yunchang felt a chill come over her, like she was being put on display for others to judge her worth. The old man restrained his piercing gaze and showed a wide smile. Steward Fong has been telling me young Miss Luo's father is a lord over a city. Which was it again? Magical City. Luo Yunchang smiled. The old man pondered. Magical City is nothing special, occupying around 100 miles, far smaller than my town. Any spirit king can take the lead there. The Luo clan shouldn't be a tough nut to crack then. The elderly man continued. Magical City, under whose administration? Liao Clan Head, please. Everyone knows the 8 emperors of the sacred domain. Half of sacred domain belongs to the 8 emperors, while the other half to the 7 sacred mountains. The bits and pieces stuck in between are at the discretion of the tougher spirit kings to fight over. They're places no one cares about, and, unfortunately, housing people they care even less. Luo Yunchang sighed. Father offered a gift at the start of the year to the Lord of Tempest City and hoped to get his recommendation to gain the Sword Emperor's help. But even the last of the Sword Emperor's 72 city lords did not deign to see us. He even threw our gift out the door, forcing Father to come back in disappointment. It's not easy to get on anyone's good graces. The old man sighed. Yes, in these times great danger awaits any who do not have a strong backer. You have managed to get a city lord position today, but tomorrow someone else will take it from you. Yes, these are harsh times. Luo Yunchang gave him an odd look. Liao Clan Head, I beg your pardon? What do you mean by that last part? The old man had an eerie grin. That I'm so relieved your father has no one to turn to. It'll give me that much sweeter sleep once I take you. Luo Yunchang started in shock and jumped to her feet. The 12 guards and Zhuo Fan moved to defend her. Don't waste your energy, insects. The old man sneered, and with a flick of his hand, the group felt a gale coming at them and flung them into the air. They then vanished the next second and reappeared in a place where there were piles and piles of bones. Luo Yunchang shrieked, then looked for Zhuo Fan. Ah, Zhuo Fan, save me. Barrier. Zhuo Fan squinted at his surroundings and said, to think the town had such a place. On the surface, it looked flourishing, but beneath it hid a mountain of bones. Luo Yunchang clutched to him for dear life as she looked around in worry. How do we escape? There is no escape. Your meager strength won't ever get out of my first-grade sacred array. A laughter came from everywhere in this morbid place, and the old man re-emerged in front of them with a snicker. Fong Ding and all the townfolks were here as well, laughing at the Luo clan's flustered and panicked looks. Bang. Luo Yunchang's anger-fueled fist let out muffled sounds as it landed on the invisible barrier that's surrounding them, roaring, Geezer, let us out right now, or you'll be sorry. Let you go? Why? On account of your third-rate city's lord of a father. Ha ha ha, the old man cackled. Please, not only do I not fear him, but would you believe me when I tell you that he won't even suspect me, woman? Luo Yunchang's face fell, her eyes staring hard. Zhuo Fan smiled. True enough, with Scarlet Lightning Valley being so close, any disappearance would immediately think it is the main reason. Who'd ever think such a joyful little town would hide a den of bloodthirsty monsters? I must say, you're more than you look, kid. You got good eyes on you. The old man cocked an eyebrow as he gave Zhuo Fan another careful look. I can see it's not just your pretty looks that got you the steward job. So you do have skill after all. Yes, I picked this place because of Scarlet Lightning Valley offering a perfect excuse for any and all kills that I make. No one would ever think it was me. Zhuo Fan smiled. Right? You're quite cautious, looking into all travelers that reach your town. You're letting those with back and go while striking at the nameless ones. It mattered little if those little groups the victims belonged to had the power or not, especially since you have Scarlet Lightning Valley as cover. Let's say your cover is blown, but even then, as peak Spirit King, you'd make light work of them. You made a killer living in this place, and it's safe too. You know me so well, kid, despite being a cripple. I'm starting to like you. The old man nodded, offering, why not join me, and I'll spare you. Zhuo Fan smirked. Luo Yunchang was furious, hammering away at the impervious barrier while screaming like a banshee. You could be the lord of your own area with your strength. So why did you choose to do such things instead? Even working under the 8 emperors should be easier than attacking in the shadows. The old man gnashed his teeth, then eased with powerlessness because he has no other choice. No matter how much the 8 emperors love talent, they'll never take in someone who uses the soul-devouring array. They'd rather avoid repeating the age-old scenario of being hunted down by all of Sacred Domain. Zhuo Fan's eyes shone as he shouted. The old man shuddered from shock, glaring hard at Zhuo Fan. Who the hell are you? How do you know? As for the town folk, they were equally overwhelmed. Soul-devouring array? What's that? Luo Yunchang frowned hard with an evil smile. Zhuo Fan stared at the other party, opening the sordid past hidden for so many years. Soul Eater is a demonic cultivation art that took everything from another cultivator to further their own power. Only what it's absorbed also contains regret and hatred, taking its toll on the user's mind while rotting the body from the inside. Therefore, restraint is an absolute must with this method, to purge all the hatred first and strengthen one's core before using it again. That is, if one doesn't want to end up becoming a walking corpse. Zhuo Fan pointed at the old man's ghastly face and laughed. The old man's face twitched, boiling mad. Thought you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.